Chapter 224. Douluo laughed heartily when he heard this. Those brats from the Heaven Do Imperial Academy want to fight with this little madman? They're courting death. If Douluo said he was the one who understood Wang Feng the best, no one would dare to say they were second. Even so, Douluo didn't dare to say he understood Wang Feng's strength completely. As a titled Douluo, he could sense that Wang Feng was hiding many things. When Wang Feng fought him, he only used third or fourth gear at most. He was barely able to fight Douluo at 30 to 40% of his strength. "Grandpa, what are you laughing at?" Douluo couldn't take it anymore. Tang San also laughed. The seven of them hadn't sparred with Wang Feng in a long time. However, it wasn't likely that they could beat him. After all, Wang Feng was also growing at a faster rate than them. Heaven Do Imperial Academy? Sorry, but Wang Feng can beat everyone. It's nothing. Douluo didn't intend to reveal this little madman's strength. Instead, he said seriously, I didn't even use 1% of my strength that day. Not to mention a Soul Elder, I can even take on a Soul Grandmaster. So, hurry up and tell the people from the Heaven Do Imperial Academy to find trouble with this brat. Wang Fengxin couldn't help but curse this old poison for deliberately causing trouble for him. Tang San also laughed. Really? Douluo looked suspiciously at her grandfather. Grandpa, you're not the kind of person to show mercy. Moreover, you didn't know each other at that time, right? But, someone from the Heaven Do Imperial Academy did come to challenge you today. Wang Feng was stunned when he heard that. There really was someone? At this moment there was a knock on the door. Tang San hurriedly opened it. It was Ma Hongjun. You're really here at the Poison Douluo's place? I just finished cultivating and was planning to walk around the academy. Damn, it seems like the people from the Heaven Do Imperial Academy really came to cause trouble. Ma Hongjun whispered. They said they wanted to challenge Wang Feng. There were also a few beautiful girls. Hearing this, Wang Feng was shocked. They came just like that? It seemed like he really was in the limelight that day at the Heaven Do Imperial Academy. Definitely. After you left that day, I heard that Prince Snowstar was severely punished by His Majesty. And that avalanche. Douluo looked at Tang San and the others with amusement. Seeing that you have become friends with my grandfather, helped him detoxify the poison, and helped me, I can tell you that these people are not simple. This is not a simple problem of students. Tang San and Wang Feng looked at each other. Let's go down and take a look, Wang Feng said after thinking for a while. Tang San also nodded. He first gave Douluo the antidote he had prepared for Douluo, and then followed Wang Feng down. The group walked to the plaza in the middle of the academy and found that there was already a circle of people from the academy. Shrek Academy's original name was Blue Tyrant Academy. Although it had changed its name, there were still many students in the academy itself. There were a total of 6 classes and more than 120 people. They ranged from level 20 to level 30. Because the Shrek Academy required one to graduate at level 40, there were many older students in the academy. When Wang Feng walked over, the surrounding crowd suddenly moved aside. A figure was directly blasted out from the center and landed on the ground. The ground seemed to shake from the impact. The crowd parted, and Wang Feng saw the person in the center. There were 4 people, 2 men and 2 women. The woman was Yi Lingling, whom he had met in the Imperial Battle Team. At this moment, she was slowly using the 9-hearted begonia, emitting a gentle light that fell on the body of the student who was blasted out. Obviously, she was helping this student recover from his injuries. Today, we came to Shrek Academy for a person called Wang Feng. Call him out. In the center, the man who attacked was about 20 years old. He had a head of black hair and a calm expression. His whole body emitted a fierce aura. The other man was wearing a mask. He was tall and slender, and his appearance could not be seen. There was also a woman. When Wang Feng saw this woman, he was stunned. Because this woman was actually Sirong? Wang Feng remembered clearly that she was a teammate who had fought together with him 6 years ago. There was also Ling Ren and Old He. They had originally agreed to meet in Soto City. Unfortunately, after Wang Feng came to Soto City, he did not find any news about them. Wang Feng felt a little regretful. He did not expect to meet them here. Through the scattered students, Sirong seemed to have seen Wang Feng. Her expression changed slightly. When the masked man saw Wang Feng, he was also stunned for a moment. A trace of fierceness flashed in his eyes. He is really here to find trouble. Ma Hongjun helped the student who was blasted out and could not help but ask, "Are you okay?" "I'm fine. This person is very strong. Thank you." "I'm Tai Long." The student looked at Ma Hongjun gratefully. At this moment, a group of students ran over and asked, "Chief Tai Long, are you okay?" "Chief?" Tang San was surprised. "You are the previous chief of the Blue Tyrant Academy?" Tai Long nodded and looked at the black-haired man in front of him. This person's soul power is above rank 40. And his martial soul is very strong. I don't know who Wang Feng is. He is probably from our academy. He did not come out. Seeing that these people were so arrogant, we planned to attack. But we did not expect that we were no match for them. He has already defeated several people. Wang Feng. Wang Feng did not look at the black-haired man. Instead, he looked at the masked man and vaguely felt that he was somewhat familiar. At this moment, a cold voice suddenly came from the other side. "Why are you looking for Wang Feng?" The students in the circle automatically dispersed. In the distance, the three girls, Zhu Zhuqing, Xiao Wu, and Ning Rongrong, walked over together. Obviously, they had also finished their cultivation and rushed over after hearing the news. "Brother!" Xiao Wu ran over first and held Tang San's right arm intimately. "Xiao Wu, you! Why are you so close?" The strong young man named Tai Long was stunned when he saw this scene. He looked at Tang San with hostility. "Tai Long, don't bother me in the future. I already have someone I like, and it's not you." Xiao Wu snorted coldly. Tang San touched his nose. So this Chief Tai Long is Xiao Wu's admirer? Seeing this, Tang San also inched closer to Xiao Wu. Tai Long's expression was very ugly. He wanted to challenge this young man, but he did not have much strength left. Tisk, Wang Feng shook his head. At this moment, Zhu Zhuqing and Ning Rongrong appeared, and the students immediately focused their attention on them. It had to be said that after being transformed by the immortal herb, the two of them were much more charming than before. They were even more beautiful than before. "Of course we're looking for him." The black-haired man looked at the two girls and his eyes lit up. However, he only said indifferently, "Don't worry, let him come out. We won't hurt him. Do you know Yi Lingling behind him? Her martial soul is the nine-hearted begonia, and it can heal injuries. We won't let you get hurt." "You want to challenge him?" Zhu Zhuqing frowned slightly and said coldly, "Then beat me first." With that, Zhu Zhuqing walked toward the central square. "Beat you?" The black-haired man looked at Zhu Zhuqing strangely. "Are you at rank 41? Cut the crap." Zhu Zhuqing's soul power surged, and her 3 soul rings lit up. The netherworld civet mutated into a netherworld civet slowly appeared, mysterious and elegant. It immediately attracted everyone's attention. Zhu Zhuqing, martial soul netherworld civet, rank 38 agility type soul master. Please advise me. There will be more at night. End of chapter. Chapter 225. All eyes were on Zhu Zhuqing. Almost all of them were attracted by her martial soul. Her martial soul was just too attractive. "Brother Feng, they're about to fight," Tang San said. "Aren't we going to stop them?" That black-haired youth didn't look simple. He was most likely a soul ancestor above rank 41. Wang Feng shook his head. "Let's wait and see what's the use of her martial soul after it mutated. Moreover, Yi Lingling is there, so it'll be hard for her to get hurt." How much would a mutated martial soul bring? Wang Feng wasn't sure, but it should be a huge improvement. Soul power rank was just one aspect. Master said that after Zhu Zhuqing's martial soul mutated, she already had the aura of a top beast martial soul on the continent. Naturally, it wasn't fake. Tang San also nodded slightly. He had the same thoughts in his heart. At this moment, the black-haired man also carefully sized up Zhu Zhuqing's martial soul. Then, he laughed. A Yue elf? So it's a cat? If it's a cat-type martial soul, you won't be able to beat me. His tone was full of confidence. The black-haired man first glanced at the masked man behind him. After the latter nodded slightly, the black-haired man walked out. His body shook slightly, and the 4 soul rings on his body suddenly lit up. Yellow, yellow, purple. The best combination of soul rings. He was a soul king above rank 41. How can it be a cat martial soul? At this moment, Tai Long couldn't help but sigh. If it's another martial soul, Goddess Zhu Qing might be able to fight. Zhu Zhuqing's group of 6 had cultivated in the academy for half a year and were naturally assigned to the advanced class. Many of the students knew each other. Just like how Tai Long was Xiao Wu's suitor, Zhu Zhuqing also had suitors in the academy. She was even called a goddess. However, with Zhu Zhuqing's personality, she probably wouldn't even bother to say a word. Ning Rongrong was the same. That person's martial soul is very effective against cats? Wang Feng frowned. Could it be a lion-type martial soul? Tai Long was stunned and nodded. Yes, he's called Luo Shi. His martial soul is a golden lion. It's the martial soul most effective against cat. Even my vigor gorilla is slightly suppressed by his martial soul. Hearing this, Tang San and Xiao Wu looked at each other. Indeed, the lion martial soul's martial soul. Isn't this like my phoenix martial spirit, which naturally restrains many bird-type martial spirits? Ma Hongjun couldn't help but say, no wonder this Luo Shi said it was impossible to defeat him. The suppression of martial souls was more than enough to affect the outcome of a battle if both parties were of the same level. If it was a high-level fight against a low-level one, it would be even worse. At this moment, the black-haired young man called Luo Shi stomped his foot on the ground, and a golden lion martial spirit suddenly appeared on his body, emitting an intimidating aura. After seeing this martial soul appear, many of the students present were in an uproar. Although Zhu Zhuqing's mutated martial soul was very beautiful, he could still tell that it was a cat martial soul. However, this young man's lion martial soul was a natural counter to her. Not to mention the difference in rank between the two of them. Was he using his head to hit him? Do you really want to fight? Luo Shi looked at the girl in front of him and frowned. My soul power is rank 43. My martial soul has a suppressive effect on you. You may only be able to use 60% to 70% of your strength in my hands. Zhu Zhuqing said expressionlessly. Who said that? Zhu Zhuqing's martial soul possessed her body. The Unimoon spirit suddenly let out a low howl and merged into Zhu Zhuqing's body. This howl was very strange. It seemed to have a special sound wave that shook the surroundings. Luo Shi's body shook and he felt a little scared. Even his martial soul dissipated a little, and his soul power kept surging. Wait, her martial soul doesn't seem to be suppressed? Luo Shi was shocked. This feeling and even the feeling of being suppressed? As for Zhu Zhuqing, who had undergone the martial soul possession, a faint crescent mark appeared between her eyebrows. Her entire body emitted a layer of faint moonlight. Her claws were purplish gold in color, and the light was somewhat eerie, causing people to tremble in fear. In the next moment, Zhu Zhuqing rushed towards Luo Shi. So fast. Tang San was slightly stunned. Zhu Zhuqing's current speed seemed to be comparable to a rank 40 agility-type soul master. He had cultivated his purple demon eyes to the 3rd level, and he could clearly see Zhu Zhuqing's movements, but... No, it's an aura shield. Tang San took a deep breath. His purple demon eyes had reached the 3rd level, and he could even see a rank 40 agility-type soul master clearly. However, just as he sensed Zhu Zhuqing's figure, he was blocked by the faint moonlight on her body. Brother Feng, after Zhu Qing's martial soul possession, the light on her body can block the enemy's perception. It's very strong. Tang San whispered, I'm afraid it's a characteristic brought about by the mutation of her martial soul. Wang Feng frowned slightly. Zhu Zhuqing's speed was not fast in his eyes, but his perception was very blurry. It was as if she had disappeared into thin air. If this was on the battlefield, the lethality could be said to be very terrifying. At this moment, the two of them were talking. Zhu Zhuqing's attack was already in front of Luo Shi. Fortunately, Luo Shi's reaction was very fast. He directly used his martial soul possession, and then clasped his hands together, and a golden light shield appeared in midair to block the attack. The sharp purple-gold claws intertwined with the light shield, making an ear-piercing sound. Whoosh! Almost instantly, Zhu Zhuqing's figure flashed and went behind Luo Shi. The soul rings on her body lit up, and Zhu Zhuqing directly used the Netherworld's 100 claws. The claws were originally black, but now they were purple-gold, and the power was extremely terrifying. Luo Shi reacted quickly, and a light shield suddenly rose from his back. But this time, because he was not prepared enough, the Golden Lion Shield's effect was not as strong as the front defense. It was almost broken by Zhu Zhuqing's claws. Her attack is very strong. Ma Hongjun could not help but say, this Luo Shi's Golden Lion is only slightly weaker than Boss Dai's White Tiger. The gap in soul power can be completely made up. Compared to Boss Dai, it is not weaker, but stronger. But Seventh Sister's attack power seems to be very strong. Her Netherworld's 100 claws should not be able to break the opponent's defensive light shield. Because the 6 of them had cultivated for half a year and often fought, Ma Hongjun knew Zhu Zhuqing's strength very well. Zhu Qing's attack power should have increased by a level. The claws behind her are now purplish-gold in color and look even sharper. It seems that the mutation of her martial soul has brought her a lot of improvement. Xiao Wu said in surprise, I want to eat that yearning heartbroken red, Tang San. Eat it if you want. No, I can't eat it. I want to keep it. This is a symbol. Xiao Wu pulled Tang San's arm and said shyly. Wang Feng. End of chapter. Chapter 226. Wang Feng didn't look at the two of them, and only nodded slightly. It seemed that the martial soul mutation had brought about a huge improvement. It could conceal her aura and make it difficult for the enemy to detect her speed. It wasn't restrained by the martial soul, and her attack power was greatly increased. It made up for Zhu Zhuqing's shortcomings as an agility-type soul master. At this moment, Luo Shi was also a little angry from being beaten up. He was a rank 43 soul ancestor, but he was suppressed by a rank 38 soul elder. Even the restraint of the martial soul was ineffective. The purple soul ring on his body lit up, and Luo Shi directly used his 4th soul skill, Lion King's Fury. This soul skill could greatly increase the deterrence of the martial soul. Simply put, it increased the restraining effect. The martial soul took the form of a Lion King and commanded 10,000 beasts. If it was a restraining effect, then the opponent's full state would be reduced by another 20%. Don't underestimate this 20%. What did it mean to be in full state? Your soul power, strength, speed, reaction, etc. would all be reduced by 20%. It could be said to have a decisive effect. If it was a tool martial soul, it would have no effect. But as long as it was a beast martial soul, there would be a huge reduction. Even if there was no restraining effect, if it was a beast martial soul, it would be reduced by 10%. Luo Shi used the Lion King's Fury, and his roar spread throughout the entire arena. All the students' hearts suddenly beat faster, and some of them retreated quickly in fear. At this moment, Luo Shi really looked like a lion. Even the long hair on his back was dyed golden, and the muscles on his body grew explosively. Zhu Zhuqing was also affected by this effect. Her speed suddenly slowed down. At this moment, Luo Shi used his third soul skill, Lion King Hunting Rabbit. His entire body roared, and his soul ring locked onto Zhu Zhuqing as he directly pounced on her. I was defeated by this move just now. Lion King Hunting Rabbit. Tai Long sighed. As the saying goes, even a lion uses its full strength to hunt a rabbit. This attack is condensed from all the strength in his body. If he pounces, it will be very difficult to defend. What a hateful soul skill! Xiao Wu muttered. Tang San. Xiao Wu's martial soul was a rabbit. If she met Luo Shi, the power of this move would probably double? At this critical moment, Wang Feng did not make a move. His dynamic vision allowed him to clearly see the crescent moon mark between Zhu Zhuqing's eyebrows in slow motion as it emitted a faint glow. This light dispelled the intimidating effect brought about by the Lion King's wrath, allowing her to return to her original state. Following this, Zhu Zhuqing didn't dodge. Instead, she used her third soul skill, Netherworld Slash. However, at this time, it should not be called Hidden Moon Slash. Zhu Zhuqing's purple-gold claws formed a knife-like arc and slashed towards Luo Shi. The two figures crossed each other in midair, and at the same time, a groan could be heard. Zhu Zhuqing's face was slightly pale. There was a cut on her right shoulder, but it was only a minor injury. On the other hand, Luo Shi had a bone-deep wound on his lower abdomen. It was clear who was better and who was worse. Yi Lingling, who was at the side, quickly used the nine-hearted begonia to unleash her soul skill. 2 rays of light landed on the two of them, and their injuries quickly healed. I've lost. Luo Shi was silent for a moment. He clutched his lower abdomen and turned to look at Zhu Zhuqing. I didn't expect there to be such a powerful girl in this academy. At this time, Zhu Zhuqing's body had returned to normal, but her face was a little pale. Ning Rongrong hurried over to support Zhu Zhuqing. Zhu Zhuqing didn't say anything. Her face was slightly flushed, and her hands were tightly clenched. I've won. I've actually won. She, who yearned to become stronger, had never expected to be able to defeat a rank 43 soul ancestor. Although this wasn't a life-and-death battle, and her opponent didn't use any killing moves, it was still a victory. But even so, they still won. Zhu Zhuqing didn't even dare to think about it in the past. Zhuqing, you're so powerful, Ning Rongrong said in admiration. I didn't even activate my support skill, and you actually won. I was just lucky. Zhu Zhuqing revealed a rare smile. However, she knew in her heart that it was the credit of that medicinal herb. Her smile immediately captivated many students. Zhu Zhuqing had never smiled before. I've lost, but Wang Feng must come out, Luo Shi said in a low voice. At this time, Si Rong walked out and stood quietly in place. The scar on her face was still eye-catching. She released her martial soul, and 5 soul rings slowly lit up around her body. She was a soul king, but looking at her, she didn't even look to be in her 30s. Immediately, the surrounding students exclaimed in surprise. You guys! Zhu Zhuqing frowned. This girl's strength was also not ordinary. At this time, Wang Feng walked out and smiled. I'm Wang Feng. What business do you have with me? Wang Feng! Ning Rongrong waved her hand at Wang Feng and snorted. These people are from Heaven Do Imperial Academy. They're here to cause trouble for you. Seeing Wang Feng finally walk out from the crowd, many students were curious. Zhu Zhuqing and the others had a special identity in the academy. They knew that they were very strong. However, Wang Feng and Tang San were captured by Douluo half a year ago when they entered the academy. Thus, they knew very little about them. They might not even have heard of their names. You're Wang Feng? Luo Shi looked at the youth walking over and thought to himself, this kid is quite handsome. No wonder such a beautiful girl stood up for him. I am. Wang Feng looked at Si Rong, but he realized that she didn't seem to recognize him. You're here to fight me? Wang Feng looked at the masked man. Wang Feng could tell that the masked man was the one who was in charge here. No, Luo Shi hurriedly said, we're just here to thank. Luo Shi was only halfway through his sentence when the masked man spoke in a cold voice. No, we're here to fight you. Si Rong, Luo Shi, go teach him a lesson. Luo Shi was stunned when he heard this. He knew that they weren't here to fight Wang Feng. To be precise, they were here to thank this kid called Wang Feng. However, he didn't know why His Highness was doing this. Hey! You're too unreasonable, Ning Rongrong said angrily. 2 against 1? This is the Shrek Academy. There's no such rule. The rest of the students were also somewhat astonished. 1 against 1 was fine, but 2 against 1? 1 against 1, a control type and an assault type? Tang San also walked up and said coldly, 2 against 2, we'll keep you company. Ma Hongjun also smiled, that's right. Do you really think the Shrek Academy is easy to bully? However, the masked man looked at Wang Feng and smiled faintly. What, you don't dare? Wang Feng also smiled and said, why wouldn't I dare? Then, Wang Feng waved at Tang San and the others, then gave Ning Rongrong and Zhu Zhuqing a reassuring look. Walking to the center of the square, Wang Feng took a deep breath and said, 10 seconds. End of chapter. Chapter 227. At this moment, Luo Shi, who had returned to the stage, frowned. His injuries had already recovered, and he had only used a small amount of soul power. Si Rong, who was standing behind him, remained silent. Kid, what do you mean? Luo Shi asked in a low voice. I said, if you guys can last more than 10 seconds, it'll be my loss, Wang Feng said with a smile. Hearing this, Luo Shi was furious. This kid is too arrogant. Isn't he just able to take 2 hits from the poison Douluo? Who can't? 2 against 1 and still last more than 10 seconds? Who are you looking down on? Captain is too arrogant. Ma Hongjun took a deep breath. A rank 43 assault-type soul ancestor and a rank 50 control-type soul king. 10 seconds, how is that possible? It's not impossible, Tang San said in a low voice after a moment of silence. Hearing this, everyone was shocked. Third brother, Master said that your strength has increased a lot in the past 6 months? Wang Feng is now rank 39? How strong is he? Ning Rongrong asked with concern. Just watch. Tang San smiled but didn't say anything. Zhu Zhuqing didn't ask. Her gaze had already landed on the square. That girl's martial soul is Iron Tooth Grass. Isn't that an excellent control-type martial soul? Xiao Wu said in surprise. The toughness of Iron Tooth Grass and Blue-Silver Grass was equivalent to a wooden stick and noodles. The fundamental difference was huge. Iron Tooth Grass was a relatively rare control-type martial soul. At this moment, Luo Shi directly possessed his martial soul. His aura was even more majestic than before. It was obvious that he had held back just now. After all, he didn't really want to hurt others, so he held back a little. Behind him, Si Rong covered the ground with Iron Tooth Grass thorns. That Iron Tooth Grass is poisonous, and it's highly poisonous. It's not much inferior to my Blue-Silver Grass, and its toughness is far above my Blue-Silver Grass. Tang San glanced at the Iron Tooth Grass. It was as thick as a thumb, but it was tied up in bundles, making it even more terrifying. Moreover, it was covered with all kinds of sharp thorns that emitted a cold green light. A Soul King's martial soul was naturally much more powerful than a Soul Elder's Tang San. This meant that he had 2 more soul rings. If I teamed up with the captain, this Iron Teeth Grass would be useless. Ma Hongjun sighed. My flames are the bane of plant-type control-type soul masters. Hearing this, Tang San smiled and said, Fatty, you're wrong. There's a word iron in Iron Teeth Grass. But it's not that simple. The reason why it's a rare martial soul is because the Iron Tooth Grass is automatically immune to fire in its later stages. Normally, when it reaches rank 51 and obtains its 5th soul ring, the iron-tooth grass will automatically become as tough as steel. Fire will be ineffective against the iron-tooth grass. Unless your soul power is stronger than the iron-tooth grass and the intensity of your fire is extremely high, you can't destroy it. Ma Hongjun was speechless. This control-type soul master is much stronger than me. If I don't use hidden weapons, I won't be her match even if I use the 8-spider spear. Tang San thought for a moment and said, if she's a strength-type or agility-type soul king, I might still be able to fight her. If she was a control-type, it would be difficult. A control-type soul master was the strongest in a 1v1. The opponent's soul ring and martial soul were stronger than his. The toughness of the iron-tooth grass was not something he could resist now. At this moment, Wang Feng moved. He didn't use his martial soul and only used second gear. He hid his mysterious underworld armor. Everyone only felt a gust of wind blow past and almost didn't understand what they saw. Wang Feng directly passed through Luo Shi and attacked Si Rong. Wang Feng was very clear about Si Rong's strength. If it was only from the perspective of a control-type soul master, she was now 2 levels stronger than Little 3. However, no one wanted to face a control-type soul master alone. He was the only one who didn't want to face a control-type soul master alone. Si Rong did not panic. Although she was surprised by Wang Feng's speed, she was obviously very experienced. Almost at the same time Wang Feng rushed in front of her. Just as Wang Feng was about to reach her, the thorns formed by the iron-tooth grass on the ground formed a cage in front of her, directly trapping her and Wang Feng. The thumb-sized iron-tooth grass formed a hemp rope-like momentum from all directions, like a steel chain, and passed through the cage. It was almost impossible for any agility-type soul master to retaliate against such a control. But at this moment, a faint light could be seen breaking through the cage. Almost in the next moment, a cold light flashed and the thorny cage formed by the iron-tooth grass was broken in an instant. Wang Feng instantly rushed out from the cage. No one knew how he broke through the cage. Because he didn't use his martial soul, if he only used his hands, which weren't sharp, no matter how strong he was, it should have been smashed and not cut through. But the chains were still there. At this moment, 3 seconds had passed. The densely packed chains were like infrared scanning, lying horizontally in front of Si Rong. It was obviously not easy to pass through this chain-like maze. Si Rong has become stronger. Wang Feng nodded slightly. 6 years ago, he had fought with Si Rong, Ling Ren, and Blackie for a period of time in the soul-hunting forest. He had a clear understanding of this woman's intelligence and calmness. But it's a pity. Wang Feng raised his palm and the corner of his mouth curled up into a smile. His 5 fingers were covered with a layer of densely packed mysterious underworld spikes. If one looked at it from behind, one wouldn't be able to see anything. But if one was in front of him, Si Rong could see that Wang Feng's palm was extremely strange. In the past 6 months, Wang Feng's control of the mysterious underworld spikes had reached 5,000. Every month, he would increase by at least a few hundred. In addition, after the karmic fire of the Red Lotus karmic fire, his mind was abnormally clear, and the number and precision of his control had greatly increased. What did 5,000 mean? It was completely capable of forming a normal weapon. Furthermore, during the tempering process, the mysterious underworld armor had changed, and the mysterious underworld spikes had also become stronger. He attached the mysterious underworld spikes to his hand and gently slashed. The iron-tooth grass that wasn't burned by the fire was instantly cut open like silk. A terrifying sharp weapon. From a certain perspective, the mysterious underworld spikes were more like a collection of hidden weapons. As long as Wang Feng controlled them well, he could shoot them out from various angles. Furthermore, they were very effective in close combat and were very difficult to defend against. Compared to Little Three's hidden weapons, they were more flexible. Most importantly, it had the ability to grow. Wang Feng's palm slashed through the air, and the chains formed by the iron teeth grass lock were all broken. The crowd was dumbfounded. Brother Feng's hand, is it a divine weapon? Xiao Wu couldn't help but ask. So sharp? The toughness of the iron-tooth grass is much stronger than your blue-silver grass. Xiao Wu could understand if Wang Feng had destroyed the iron-tooth grass with a single punch because he was very strong. But now, seeing Wang Feng cut through the chains formed by the iron-tooth grass so easily and quickly, she couldn't believe it. You lost. Using this method to cut through the iron-tooth grass was extremely fast. Almost in an instant, Wang Feng rushed in front of Si Rong and gently placed the mysterious underworld spike on her neck. Si Rong nodded slightly and didn't say anything. 5 seconds. This process only took 5 seconds. End of chapter. Chapter 228. After that, Wang Feng turned around and looked at Luo Shi. He didn't even want to run over. He stood where he was. Seeing Luo Shi use the Lion King hunting rabbit, he clenched his fists and attacked directly. Wang Feng covered his chest with the mysterious underworld armor again and stood where he was. Boom! Luo Shi clenched his fists and punched Wang Feng's chest. A wave of air blasted out from Wang Feng's chest. Almost instantly, his entire body was sent flying by an even greater force. The scene was extremely shocking. The 1.5 times rebounding force had caused Luo Shi to endure an even greater force. Everyone was shocked. They didn't know how he did it. Even Tang San and the others were dumbfounded. They didn't expect it to end so easily. Wang Feng smiled and patted his chest casually. After that, he turned around and looked at the masked man. Is there anything else you need from me? Humph. The masked man snorted coldly before tossing a golden card engraved with patterns at Wang Feng. What you did in the Heaven Do Imperial Academy half a year ago was unintentional, but someone wants to thank you for it. Take these gold soul coins as a token of appreciation. Luo Shi, Si Rong, let's go. After that, the masked man turned around and left. Luo Shi got up from the ground. However, his body was still weak and powerless. Lingling, let me recover first. I feel like I can't walk anymore, Yi Lingling frowned. She felt that something was amiss, but she still used the 9-hearted begonia to recover. A ray of light landed on Luo Shi's body. It's not working. Luo Shi used his hands to support himself on the ground. However, he realized that his body was still weak. Wang Feng thought to himself, you used so much strength to hunt a rabbit. Now that you're rebounded, you'll be in a terrible state. The rebound of 1.5 times strength and the weakening of your defense. The 9-hearted begonia is only used to recover your injuries. You're in a weakened state now. Naturally, you won't be able to recover. In the end, Yi Lingling and Si Rong had to help Luo Shi up. He looked deeply at Wang Feng before the 4 of them left. When they reached the door, Si Rong turned around and glanced at Wang Feng. So you're here to give me money? Wang Feng rubbed the golden card in his hand. He knew that there were plenty of gold soul coins inside. You're thanking me for what happened in the Heaven Do Imperial Academy. Interesting, it's you, right? Wang Feng looked at their backs and shook his head. Prince Xuexing and Avalanche were not simple people. Avalanche was a prince of the Heaven Do Empire. Back in the Heaven Do Imperial Academy, the 2 of them had suffered a great loss. The only ones who could thank him were their enemies, free money. Wang Feng put away the card and smiled. It was a pleasant surprise. At this moment, as the 4 of them left, the square was silent for a moment. Many students stared at Wang Feng. This was especially true for many of the female students. After seeing Wang Feng display such powerful strength, especially with his incomparably handsome face and slender and muscular body, their eyes were filled with glistening light as they stared at him. Disperse! Disperse! Ning Rongrong immediately scolded softly. What are you looking at? What's there to look at? Why don't you go to class and cultivate? The rest of the people also quickly dismissed the students surrounding the square. Brother Feng, in this half a year, how did you become stronger again? Xiao Wu giggled and said, luckily you didn't spar with us again. I don't want to spar with you again. It really was less than 10 seconds. Ma Hongjun was speechless. I counted carefully. It was less than 8 or 9 seconds. Zhu Zhuqing nodded slightly at Wang Feng and did not say anything. Wang Feng, I have to go back to the sect tomorrow. Can you come with me? Ning Rongrong walked to Wang Feng's side and raised her head to ask. No. Wang Feng said. Why? Ning Rongrong frowned. Can't you just treat it as a guest? Grandpa Jian also wants to see you. Why should I go? Didn't your family want Little Three to buy hidden weapons? Isn't it better to let Tang San and the others go with you? Wang Feng smiled and said, I can take Tang San back and let your father see the power of Little Three's hidden weapons. Wang Feng did not really want to face a titled Douluo. The danger was mainly because there were 2 titled Douluo in the 7 treasure glazed tile sect. Although Ning Rongrong was there, it was unlikely that anything dangerous would happen. But what if? Well, Rongrong already has a hidden weapon I made. It's not very appropriate for me to go. Tang San coughed twice. If he followed Ning Rongrong back to the sect, Xiao Wu would definitely make a scene. Xiao Wu nodded in satisfaction when she heard this. Brother Feng, don't refuse. Go. Xiao Wu giggled. Wang Feng smiled and said to Ning Rongrong, next time? Next time, when he had the ability to not die in front of a titled Douluo, or when his body was completely tempered with the Red Lotus karmic fire, or when he reached rank 40 and obtained his 4th soul ring. Wang Feng was confident that he could escape unscathed if he faced a titled Douluo. You said it. Ning Rongrong was originally fuming, but after hearing Wang Feng's words, her face immediately brightened up. She smiled and then walked away happily. She had already packed her luggage, and was planning to take leave to return to the sect. Oh yes, where are the other 2? After today's cultivation, aren't you going to go out and have some fun? Wang Feng asked Ma Hongjun. Oscar? Ma Hongjun giggled. Oscar is very proud of himself. He recently hooked up with a girl. She's very pretty. Wang Feng was stunned when he heard this. As for Boss Dai, he has been keeping himself clean recently. I think he's going to turn over a new leaf. Ma Hongjun smiled as he spoke. Wang Feng was silent when he heard this. However, he did not say much. At this moment, Tai Long suddenly jumped out and said to Tang San, You're Tang San? You're the one Xiao Wu likes? I'm not convinced. I want to challenge you. Tang San was stunned. He furrowed his brows as he looked at Tai Long. Why should I accept your challenge? For Xiao Wu, of course. You're the one she likes. I have to see if you're qualified to protect her. Tai Long said in a deep voice. Wang Feng was amused by this. He remembered Tai Long. More accurately, Tai Long's family of 3 left a deep impression on Wang Feng. The reason was simple. Tai Long's family was a subsidiary sect of the Clear Sky sect. Tai Long's grandfather, Titan, even addressed Tang San as young master after he found out about Tang San's identity. After that, he became the first power Tang San joined the Tang sect. Wang Feng sighed when he thought of this. It's so easy to have a good father. However, I'm not bad either. I have a cheat. All right, I accept your challenge, Tang San said unhappily. After that, the 2 of them started fighting in the plaza. Just as Wang Feng had expected, Tai Long had come here to deliver himself to Tang San. Tang San's binding spiderweb finished him off. Wang Feng watched for a while before he said goodbye to the others and left. This time, Wang Feng changed into a new set of clothes and disguised himself. Then, he walked toward the Heaven Do Imperial Academy. End of chapter. Chapter 229. Wang Feng's disguise was brilliant. Sairong's appearance confused Wang Feng. Why is she in Heaven Do Imperial Academy? There were only 3 Soul Douluo in Heaven Do Imperial Academy, so Wang Feng wasn't afraid. It shouldn't be a problem if they were just there for an exchange. Wang Feng was a little emotional when he came to Heaven Do Imperial Academy again. This place is still so beautiful. It was almost dusk. Wang Feng didn't go up the academy. Instead, he went to the forest. If he went inside, it would be easy to cause trouble. Wang Feng wanted to capture any unlucky students from the Heaven Do Imperial Academy and interrogate them. It was as if Wang Feng had become one with the forest, completely silent. This was the forest that Heaven Do Imperial Academy relied on. Most of it was a mimicry illusion. There were almost no soul beasts. Wang Feng was speechless as he traversed through the forest. Why is there no one here? This is such a good environment for cultivation. Why isn't anyone cultivating here? Why are Heaven Do Imperial Academy students so lazy? No wonder they're so weak. Suddenly, Wang Feng stopped. His ears twitched. He heard a conversation in front of him. You know him? No. No, you know him. Otherwise, you would have had a chance to retaliate when he stabbed you. But you didn't. There was no need. Su Surong, I saved the three of you. Is this how you repay me? I can give you my life if you want it. But if you want me to tell you something I don't know, I'll have to make up a story for you. Fine. If you don't want to tell me, then forget it. I'll find a chance to kill him. Why do you have to do that? You probably don't know. This brat took off my mask in Soto City and saw my face. Today, I recognized him at the Heaven Do Imperial Academy. Moreover, this brat is very unreasonable. He even offended me at that time. Do you think I can let him go? But Your Highness, didn't you just thank him today? I did. After all, Xue Xing was punished by His Majesty. He's no longer a threat to me. Even that trash, Avalanche, was punished. I should thank him, but that won't stop me from killing him, right? Your Highness, you want to beg for mercy? It seems like you really know him? Tell me, what's your relationship? If I'm satisfied, I'll let this kid go. Then, Wang Feng heard a familiar voice recounting the events of the past. It's really Sirong. Her Highness, he should be you, right? Qianren Xue? Wang Feng thought to himself. Listening to this conversation, it seemed like Sirong, Lao He, and Ling Ren were in trouble in Soto City and were saved by this Qianren Xue? No wonder she was in Soto City at that time. Wang Feng listened as Si Rong briefly recounted what had happened 6 years ago. It was very brief and did not say too much about him. Moreover, Si Rong didn't know much. At most, she knew that his Golden Lotus had an incredible recovery ability. When he killed Lin Shan and the level 40 soul ancestor who fed his soul beast on humans, the three of them were unconscious and didn't even see their second forms. Si Rong and the other two didn't know anything about the Icea Emperor Lizard. 6 years ago? From what you said, this kid is really an auxiliary-type soul master. When he fought with me, he didn't look like an auxiliary-type soul master. But from what you said, he was able to kill a level 40 soul ancestor when he was only level 20? Yes, Your Highness, would you let him go? Wang Feng. Wang Feng, this kid is really mysterious. Don't worry, I can't wait to cherish such an interesting person. Why would I kill him? I'm just joking with you. Wang Feng snorted coldly in his heart. This Qian Rinxue really has the demeanor of a villain. Wang Feng remembered clearly that she should be disguised as the crown prince of the Heaven Do Empire, Xueqinghe. That's why she was called Your Highness. And the 3 soul Daluo of the Heaven Do Imperial Academy seemed to be her people? When I reach level 40 and obtain my 4th soul ring, I'll teach you a lesson. Wang Feng thought to himself. The last time he met this Qian Rinxue was a year ago. At that time, she should be around level 60. She should be even stronger now. After all, her innate full soul power was at level 20. His cultivation speed can be considered to be on par with mine. His current level should be even higher. But knowing that Si Rong and the other two were safe, Wang Feng was relieved. He had been thinking about them. Although he was following Qian Rinxue now, at least there was a guarantee. After thinking about it, Wang Feng quietly left the forest while the two were talking. In his current state, after being tempered by the red lotus karmic fire, other than his brain and chest, the rest of his body was pure and clean. As long as he disguised himself, he could almost become one with heaven and earth. Unless one saw it with their own eyes or focused their senses, it would be difficult to detect. Moreover, Qian Rinxue's strength might not be much higher than his now. He came quietly and left quietly. Wang Feng returned to Heaven Do City. Half a day had passed. Walking on the street, he thought. Suddenly, Wang Feng looked up and saw Tang San and Xiao Wu shopping. Then, he walked into a huge building. This building was larger than the great Seoul arena of ordinary cities. It was cylindrical. It should be the auction house of Heaven Do City. Auction house, Wang Feng thought for a while. He remembered that it seemed that in this auction house, Xiao San and the others would meet a special person. That person should be the sect master of the 7 treasure glazed tile sect. Ning Fengji? Wang Fengxin was a little curious. Who is the sect master of the 7 treasure glazed tile sect, one of the 7 major sects in the Douluo world? He is also Ning Rongrong's father. Thinking about it, Wang Feng took advantage of the fact that he was still in disguise and walked directly over. At this time, he was dressed in the uniform of the royal team, a black robe, a white mask, a tall figure, and no one could see his specific appearance. Walking into the auction house, the welcoming girls at the door reminded Wang Feng of the luxurious clubs in his previous life. He didn't expect to encounter such treatment here. "Excuse me, is there anything I can help you with?" The 4 girls at the door looked at Wang Feng's appearance a little strange, but they still came forward and asked. Wang Fengxin immediately took out a black card and said indifferently, "I want to go in and take a look." This card was Wang Feng's savings for the past 6 years. It barely amounted to 10,000 gold soul coins. As for the golden card that Qian Rinxue gave him, he naturally wouldn't use it carelessly to avoid exposing his identity. A young girl took the card and looked at it carefully. Then, she respectfully led Wang Feng inside. The auction house required you to have an auction qualification certificate, which meant that you had to have a certain amount of assets to be allowed to enter. Moreover, the auction house had many rules. For example, according to the price of the auctioned items, there would be different levels of auction seats, etc. You also needed to wear a mask to conceal your identity. Wang Feng had his own disguise, which saved a lot of effort. He followed the girl to the auction house on the 2nd floor. Aren't they dressed too skimpily? The clothes of the attendants on the 2nd floor were simply too revealing, a short skirt that reached her breasts and a sleeveless shirt that revealed her waist. Wang Feng took a glance and hurriedly retracted his gaze. This kind of place seems to be used to stimulate the various desires in one's heart. After a series of battles between his eyes and his brain, Wang Feng calmly followed the attendants and walked into the auction house. End of chapter. Please count the votes. End of chapter. Chapter 230. The auction hall in the center was more like a large hall. It was a semicircle with a high platform in the center. Below it were rows and rows of seats. According to the color of the seats, one's status and assets were different. Wang Feng only took out 10,000 gold soul coins as a qualification certification. Naturally, he was assigned to the last white seat. There were many people in this area. Some of them wore masks while others didn't. Not long after, Wang Feng saw Tang San and Xiao Wu walking over. They probably went to the back row to auction the hidden weapons and appraise them. That middle-aged man should be Ning Fengji, right? Wang Feng looked forward and naturally saw the middle-aged man, not far from Tang San and Xiao Wu. At this moment, the 3 of them were already talking. Vaguely, Wang Feng could still hear their conversation. These waitresses were sold from a young age and underwent all kinds of training. Their job is to serve men, so it's natural for them to dress so skimpily. Furthermore, they are the same as the auction items above. They can also be bought. Aren't they slaves? Doesn't the empire prohibit slave trading? Tang San's surprised voice was heard. Wang Feng listened to the conversation between the three of them and sighed in his heart. So what if it's prohibited? Even in my previous life there were similar situations. If the girls around you want to buy these waitresses and give them back their freedom, I suggest that you don't have such naive thoughts. That's because these waitresses don't have any other skills other than serving men. They can only work in this line of work. If they have children, they will still choose to work in this line of work. Years of training have already caused them to lose their souls. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that they are walking corpses. Perhaps my words are a bit harsh, but this is the truth. You can sympathize, but don't be emotional. That will only lead to a tragedy. It was a very elegant middle-aged man. He spoke in a pure and unhurried manner. It was difficult to feel disgusted by him. As expected of the master of a sect, Wang Fengxin thought. The top forces of the Douluo world, the 7 great sects, the 2 great empires, and the martial spirit palace. None of them were easy to deal with. At this moment Wang Fengxin's heart moved. He walked over and whispered in a hoarse voice, "What's the point of being a young man if he doesn't act on his emotions, if he considers everything carefully and is full of lethargy? When you're young, don't you have to do what you want to do?" Hearing this, the 3 of them were stunned. They didn't even notice that a black-robed man had suddenly walked to their side. The middle-aged man stared blankly for a moment, then suddenly laughed a few times. "This gentleman's words are somewhat reasonable. The 2 of you are still young. You should do what you want to do and try. My words alone won't be of much use." The middle-aged man looked at Wang Feng. Tang San and Xiao Wu looked at each other in dismay. For a moment they felt that it made sense. They couldn't help but look at the black-robed man. At that moment Wang Feng was wearing a black robe and a white mask. Not a single part of his body was exposed. Even his eyes were covered by the hood of his black robe. 9-1? At this time, Tang San's pupils shrank slightly as he whispered, "Brother, you know this person?" Xiao Wu asked in surprise. Tang San nodded and said, "Do you remember the great arena of souls in Sylvis? That one-man team, the royal team. 9-1, if I remember correctly, it's this outfit." Xiao Wu also remembered. She was shocked and looked at Wang Feng in surprise. "It's him. What he said is quite reasonable, but let's not waste gold soul coins." Xiao Wu muttered in a low voice. They had seen the battle very clearly. The royal team's 9-1 opened and instantly killed 7 members of the god-slaying team. Xiao Wu still remembered how that handsome figure left, and how shocking it was to the 7 of them at that time. "If we were rich, I would also buy one of them and give them freedom. As for what they do, it doesn't matter," Xiao Wu said in Tang San's ear with a grin. Tang San nodded slightly. He somewhat understood Xiao Wu's thoughts. Xiao Wu was kind by nature, and doing this was nothing more than paying for her kindness so that she could feel better. However, they didn't have many gold soul coins now, so naturally they wouldn't choose to do so. "Friend, you seem to be extraordinary. Where are you from?" The middle-aged man looked at Wang Feng and was secretly shocked. With his strength, he actually couldn't see through this man. At such a close distance, he felt as if the other party didn't exist, which was very strange. "I'm just an ordinary soul master. Compared to you, Sect Master Ning, I'm much worse," Wang Feng said pretentiously. Wang Feng intended to test whether this man was really Ning Fengji. Sure enough, hearing Wang Feng's words, Ning Fengji was stunned. Wang Feng knew that he had guessed correctly when he saw that Wang Feng was stunned. This was Ning Fengji. "You know me?" Ning Fengji was surprised. He was the dignified sect master of the 7 treasure glazed tile sect. Those who could recognize him were naturally powerhouses in the soul master world. How could an ordinary soul master recognize him? But Ning Fengji couldn't recognize this person. He couldn't recognize him from his voice, and his perception was also very vague. He didn't seem to be the two young children next to him. I don't know you, I guess. Wang Feng laughed hoarsely and said, I see that you have an extraordinary figure, elegant speech, and extraordinary bearing. At first glance, I can tell that you're a big shot. Just think about who in the world has such a demeanor. I guess it's Sect Master Ning. After saying that, Wang Feng laughed silently. Ning Fengji's old face was slightly red. He thought to himself, who is this person? He has a way of saying things. At this time, a host suddenly walked up from the center of the auction house in front of them. At this time, the auction had already gone through several rounds. At this time, a huge iron cage was being carried up. Accompanied by the host's voice, everyone, the starting price of the next auction item is 100,000 gold soul coins. The increment must not be less than 10,000 gold soul coins. Perhaps many of you are curious about why this item is so expensive. Then, please take a look. The host suddenly lifted the cover of the iron cage, revealing the girl inside. Seeing this scene, many people looked at the iron cage with curiosity. There was a special feeling in their eyes. Even Tang San and Xiao Wu were stunned. Wang Feng also looked at it. It was a girl with an unusually hot and perfect figure. Her skin was white and bright like jade, and her light green hair covered her appearance. Her specific appearance couldn't be seen. The key parts of her body were also covered by a special shell, revealing large areas of skin. This beauty is not an attendant of our auction house. She's very special. Now I'll show you. The host suddenly reached into the iron cage and pinched the girl's ears. Everyone saw clearly that the girl's ears were similar to a cat's. Then, he patted the girl's butt, revealing a tail hidden behind the girl. Seeing this scene, many VIPs' eyes suddenly lit up. End of chapter. Chapter 231. Wang Feng frowned slightly. I'm sure everyone can see that this is a special cat girl. When her martial soul was awakened, it mutated, and her body changed as well. She has the shape of a cat. This cat girl is unique in the continent. Since you all know, I won't say more. The host smiled slightly. Many of the VIPs below were breathing heavily. Their eyes were fixed on the girl in the cage, as if they were ferocious tigers that were about to devour her. This should be the dark side of this world, right? Wang Fengxin sighed softly. He might have known about such transactions in his previous life, but he had never seen it with his own eyes. After all, how could he have the chance to see such things when he was just a normal shut-in? He didn't expect to see it with his own eyes in this world. This was a blatant transaction. Wang Feng looked at Tang San and Xiao Wu. Tang San was obviously much calmer and wasn't as angry as Xiao Wu. Even though it was Tang San's first time seeing such a thing, he was mentally prepared and knew what kind of place this auction was. Every world has a dark side. It's just that ordinary people can't come into contact with it. Wang Fengxin was slightly touched. Hidden under the black robe, no emotions could be seen on his face. As he grew stronger, it was only a matter of time before he would come into contact with these kinds of things. Besides, Wang Feng had even encountered a case of humans devouring beasts in the soul-hunting forest, thus he was not too bothered by these kinds of dirty deals. He didn't intend to save her. He was just a bystander, quietly watching this transaction that was filled with the most primitive desire between people. At this moment, Ning Fengji started to raise the price. Very quickly, the young lady was bought by Ning Fengji for 180,000 gold soul coins. Humph, uncle, I didn't know that you had such thoughts too. Didn't you just say that these girls don't have souls and aren't worth saving? Don't tell me you want to. Xiao Wu looked at the middle-aged man with a different gaze. Xiao Wu was too embarrassed to say the last few words. Just now, she felt that this uncle's words were very amiable and gave people a feeling like a spring breeze. Ha ha ha, Ning Fengji laughed and said, I'm already so old, I'm not interested in these little girls. This cat girl was different from the others. Her martial soul was mutated. She had not lost her humanity, and only had a servile nature after the auction. Her eyes told me that her soul could be saved. I have the conditions, why can't I save him? So mysterious? You can see a person's nature through their eyes? Xiao Wu didn't believe it. Tang San felt that this middle-aged man was very interesting, but he was still vigilant. Of course, the eyes are the windows to the soul. Ning Fengji looked at Wang Feng, who had been silent all this while, and said with a smile, What do you think, friend? The eyes are the windows to the soul, but they are also the barriers to the soul. Wang Feng thought for a moment and said in a hoarse voice, You can use your eyes to see a person's essence, and you can also use your eyes to deceive a person's heart. Hearing this, Ning Fengji was stunned. Tang San and Xiao Wu were also stunned. Deceive a person's heart through their eyes? Ning Fengji's eyes flashed. He thought to himself, This person is probably an old fox. Although I don't understand what you're saying, I feel that it makes sense. Xiao Wu giggled in a low voice. Tang San understood a little, and looked at the two of them with more vigilance. These two people didn't seem to be simple. What you said makes sense, and it's the first time I've heard such interesting words. Ning Fengji smiled and said, Why don't we be friends, and I'll give this cat girl to you to save. Give? The cat girl that was auctioned for 18 gold soul coins was given away just like that? Tang San and Xiao Wu looked at this mysterious middle-aged man in astonishment. Sect Master Ning, you don't have to test me. Wang Feng laughed strangely. I don't have the time to save a girl. This kind of thing should be left to Sect Master Ning. After saying that, Wang Feng turned and left. We'll meet again if fate wills it. After saying that, Wang Feng quickly disappeared from their sight. Wang Feng came here just to see if Ning Rongrong's father was the same as in the original novel. After the confrontation between the two, Wang Fengxin was a little more confident. As for Ning Fengji giving the cat girl to him, it was nothing more than testing him. Of course, he wouldn't accept it. He's an interesting person. Ning Fengji frowned slightly. The other party didn't have any malicious intentions, and he didn't have any enemies in his life. Plus, there were two titled Douluo in the sect, so Ning Fengji didn't suspect that the other party was an enemy. At this moment, he heard the two young children next to him discussing. Brother, this 9 open is so mysterious. It's very mysterious. Ning Fengji turned around and looked at Tang San and Xiao Wu. He smiled and said, You two seem to know this person's background? Hee, look at how much money you spent to save a girl. You must be kind in your heart, so I'll tell you then. Xiao Wu looked at Ning Fengji gratefully. Tang San nodded slightly. Just now, for the sake of bidding, this middle-aged man had confronted Prince Xue Xing in the Heaven Dou imperial family's snow cloud, and he wasn't afraid at all. It could be seen that he at least had a kind heart. Xiao Wu told him about the imperial family battle team, 9 open, and what she saw in the Sylvis Great Soul Arena that day. A one-man battle team? 9 open? After hearing this, Ning Fengji's eyes lit up. Interesting. He was able to take care of 7 rank 49 agility-type soul masters in less than 10 seconds. His strength was not to be underestimated. Even a high-level soul master might not be able to do it. The conditions required for this were too harsh. By the way, uncle, how can one's eyes deceive one's heart? Xiao Wu suddenly asked. Ning Fengji pondered for a moment and suddenly said with a smile, Many old and cunning people want to see their hearts through their eyes, but it's easy to be deceived. For example, now you look at me and think I'm saving that cat girl. Speaking of this, Ning Fengji changed the topic and his voice was slightly cold. But what if I turn around and sell this cat girl to someone else at a sky-high price? You won't know. Hearing this, Xiao Wu was stunned, but Tang San's eyes flashed with a strange light. You're young, and many of your thoughts will float to the surface. You can see happiness, anger, sorrow, and joy clearly with your eyes. But what if you're young and mature, and you're pretending? Not long ago you deceived me? For the same reason, I'm the same. Ning Fengji's voice changed back, and it became as refreshing as a spring breeze. He smiled and said, "So, he just said that eyes can deceive others." Xiao Wu was enlightened. Tang San took a deep look at the back of the black-robed figure. Intuition told him that this nine open was not simple. End of chapter. Chapter 232. After Wang Feng left the auction house, he first found a secluded place and only changed back into his original outfit after he sensed that there was no one around. He remembered that the sword Douluo should be with Ning Fengji. Fortunately, he didn't see him beside Ning Fengji earlier. If he had seen him, Wang Feng wouldn't have gone forward to test him. After all, a titled Douluo still had a chance of seeing through his disguise. After strolling around the streets, Wang Feng returned to the Shrek Academy. Just as he reached the academy's entrance, he was blocked by another group of people. Wang Feng walked over to take a look and saw a man who was even more muscular than Tai Long. He was fighting with Tang San. It turned out that Tang San and Xiao Wu had returned from the auction house. This should be Tai Long's father, Tinan? Wang Feng chuckled to himself and didn't bother too much. He reckoned that his grandfather should be coming out soon. A pure strength-based soul master. Wang Feng looked on with interest. This was the first time he had seen a soul master who walked a pure path. Wang Feng was very curious. Such a soul master was like a hexagon where one of the attributes was maxed out while the other 5 attributes were left unchanged. The effects were naturally great. In terms of strength, they far surpassed soul masters of the same level. In fact, they could even surpass those of a higher level. "Brother Feng, you're back too? This Tai Long's father is too infuriating." He directly attacked Brother. Xiao Wu saw Wang Feng and hurried over. She said angrily, but there was a hint of worry in her eyes. "This is a Soul King over rank 50. What if Brother gets hurt?" "Don't worry, your little 3 won't get hurt so easily," Wang Feng said with a smile. Tang San was currently at rank 37. However, with his Tang sect martial arts, hidden weapons, and 8 spider spear, it wasn't difficult for him to deal with this pure strength-based soul master. At this moment, Tinan let out a loud bellow and unleashed his 4th soul skill, Force Quake. With him as the center, the floor around him seemed to be crushed by a huge force and exploded. Countless stone fragments flew everywhere, and terrifying air currents wreaked havoc around him. From afar, Tinan seemed to be in the center of an earthquake. Everything around him started to collapse. Everyone retreated. Wang Feng looked up and saw Tang San using the 8 spider spear in midair. Then, he used his blue-silver grass to form a large net and dropped down from the sky as if he was parachuting. He wasn't injured at all. Tang San, who had landed, did not hesitate this time around. He took out his Zhuge repeating crossbow and shot it toward Tinan. From this, it could be seen that the Zhuge repeating crossbow that Tang San made for him was not simple at all. Tinan was a Soul King over rank 50, yet the Zhuge repeating crossbow was still able to break through his defenses. Pu. The 16 crossbow bolts pierced through Tinan's body, leaving behind over 10 small bloody holes. How exaggerated, Wang Feng shook his head. The might of the Zhuge repeating crossbow could also cause damage to Soul Kings over rank 50. However, Tinan focused on strength attacks and didn't even have any defensive soul skills. With just his physical body, it was too weak to resist. Shameless! How can Tang San use this kind of weapon to hurt people? Tai Long shouted angrily when he saw that his father was injured. "It's clearly your father who used his superior rank to attack my brother, all right? If we're talking about shameless, it's your father who's the shameless one." Xiao Wu was unhappy. "Furthermore, it's clearly your father who's too weak, all right? A year ago in the Great Star Do Forest, Brother Feng didn't even use his soul power. He was able to resist my Zhuge repeating crossbow with just his physical body. Hearing this, Tai Long was stunned. He looked at Wang Feng and snorted. That's impossible. Even my father couldn't resist it. How can he resist it? What nonsense! Wang Feng laughed. He couldn't be bothered to rebut Tai Long. He thought to himself, I was testing the defensive strength of my Xianming armor back then. Those crossbow bolts landed on my Xianming armor, so they were ineffective. If I had only used my physical body, I wouldn't have been able to resist it. However, even if I don't use my Xianming armor now, this Zhuge repeating crossbow won't be able to cause any damage to me even if its strength is doubled. Ignorant! Xiao Wu looked at Tai Long with disdain. At this moment, seeing that Tinin was injured, Tang San walked over and used the poison on his 8-spider spear to quickly cut a few wounds on Tinin's body. In just a few seconds, Tinin's huge body collapsed to the ground. Tang San also put away his 8-spider spear. Other than looking a little pale, there weren't any changes to his expression. Wang Feng could sense that Tang San had suffered some internal injuries. He reckoned that Tang San was forcefully suppressing them. Seeing this, Wang Feng's golden lotus spun, and a healing light landed on Tang San's body. Brother Feng. Tang San felt this extremely warm light. He didn't even have to think to know who it was. He couldn't find another soul master with such frightening healing abilities other than Brother Feng. When Tai Long saw that his father was injured, he also rushed over. However, he was stopped by Tang San. Tang San frowned and grabbed Tai Long. He said in a deep voice, "Don't move. I'll help your father get rid of the poison. Otherwise, your father's life will be in danger." As he spoke, Tang San walked over and used his 8-spider spear to stab into Tinin's wound. After that, he absorbed the poison. Brother Feng, please help me heal him. Otherwise, he'll have to rest for at least 2 to 3 days before he can get out of bed. Tang San thought for a while and said, The poison of my 8-spider spear is too strong. Even if he absorbs it completely, his body will be in an extremely weak state. All right. Wang Feng nodded slightly. Tinin was considered to be Xiao San's retainer in the future. It wasn't a big deal to help him. The golden lotus light landed on Tinin's body slowly. It was almost visible to the naked eye. Tinin immediately woke up from his unconscious state. His pale face also had some color. Tai Long was stunned when he saw this. You're a healing type auxiliary type soul master? Tai Long looked at Wang Feng in disbelief. Earlier in the morning, he had seen Wang Feng fight with 2 soul ancestors who were over rank 40. How could he be a healing type auxiliary type soul master? Furthermore, from the looks of it, his healing effect was so powerful? Could it be that what he saw earlier was an illusion? Was it another person? Tai Long was a little confused. Since when could a healing type auxiliary type soul master fight against 2 soul ancestors who were over rank 10? Furthermore, he was able to end the battle within 10 seconds? Wang Feng smiled and didn't say anything. I already said that you're ignorant. Xiao Wu scolded mercilessly. At this moment, Thank you, Tinin, who was slowly opening his eyes, looked at Wang Feng and coughed a few times. After that, he looked deeply at Tang San before he walked into the academy with Tai Long's help. He was probably going to discuss the compensation for the destruction of the academy's buildings. Xiao San, you're playing the bad guy and letting me be the good guy? Wang Feng smiled. I'm afraid that they'll bear a grudge. Tang San nodded. Otherwise, if we beat up the son, the father will come. If we beat up the father, what if the grandfather comes? Hearing this, Wang Feng laughed and said, Xiao San, don't worry. His grandfather will definitely come looking for us. Tang San. Tang San had already experienced Brother Feng's inauspicious mouth. When he heard this, he couldn't help but think, is Tai Long's grandfather really going to come looking for us? End of chapter. Chapter 233. Brother Feng, you're so mean. If their grandfather really comes, I can't handle it alone. Xiao Wu immediately protested. You have to help my brother. Don't worry, Xiao Wu. Your brother can handle it. Wang Feng smiled. Besides, their grandfather won't hurt Xiao Wu. After all, he's a grandfather. At most, he'll teach him a lesson. Besides, not only would he not hurt Xiao Wu, but he would also kneel on the ground if he took out the clear sky hammer. That won't do. I don't want my brother to get hurt again. Anyway, I don't care. Brother Feng jinxed it. Xiao Wu once again displayed her unreasonable and shameless character. Tang San couldn't help but smile. He recalled the time when he and Xiao Wu couldn't defeat Brother Feng at Nodding Academy. They kept losing, and then Xiao Wu acted shamelessly. The scene was vivid in his mind, causing Tang San to be deeply moved. Okay. If their grandfather really comes, I won't sit by and do nothing. Wang Feng's eyes flashed. That titan seemed to be very strong. Of course, there was pressure. It should make me stronger, right? 7 treasure glazed tile sect. Little princess, aren't you angry? In the hall, Ning Rongrong sat quietly on the sofa. On the other side sat a skinny old man. His whole body was like a tree that had aged for many years, shriveled and shriveled. However, in the 7 treasure glazed tile sect, no one dared to look down on him. If Wang Feng was here, he would be able to guess his identity. He was one of the 2 titled Douluo of the 7 treasure glazed tile sect, the Bone Dalu. Humph! Ning Rongrong took a sip of tea and said with a smile, I can't be angry now. I have to hold it in and wait for my father to come back. Otherwise, my anger will disappear when he comes back. The Bone Daluo's mouth twitched. This little clever girl. He thought that the little witch had changed her temperament. She should have lost her temper when she didn't see her father when she came back. Who would have thought that it would be like this? She was getting more and more clever. Ha, my baby girl is back? Come out and let your father see if you've gained weight. A loud voice sounded from outside the door. Ning Rongrong pondered for a moment, then raised her head, looking furious. The Bone Daluo wanted to laugh, but couldn't. He could only think to himself, Fengji, it's all up to you now. Ning Fengji strode in from the door. When he saw Ning Rongrong, a smile appeared on his face. Come here, let daddy hug you. No. Ning Rongrong harumphed. The last time Grandpa Jian came to visit me, you didn't even come. Only Grandpa Jian misses me the most. Ning Rongrong ran over to the sword Douluo and gave him an affectionate hug as she spoke. Ning Fengji smiled bitterly. As the sect leader of a sect, he had many things to do. How could he leave just like that? The 2 titled Douluo, on the other hand, didn't have many things to do. Naturally, they could go and see this little witch. The sword Douluo grinned from ear to ear at the sight of Ning Rongrong approaching him, and he even turned to the Bone Daluo with a smug look on his face. Ahem, Rongrong, I should have been the one to come and see you the last time. The Bone Daluo stood up and coughed a few times. Your Grandpa Jian is a little despicable. He agreed to fight with me that day, and I came. In the end, he went to see you. Don't you think that's infuriating? When Ning Fengji heard this, he couldn't help but laugh in his heart. The 2 Douluo had been fighting for their entire lives, and they doted on their daughter very much. They even had to fight over this. I know. Grandpa Gu must have missed me too. Ning Rongrong actually nodded in an abnormal manner. After that, she said in a strange tone, I didn't want to miss someone. He didn't even come to see his own daughter. Ning Fengji hurriedly coughed a few times and said, Daughter, Daddy came back this time to bring you a gift. Last time, your Grandpa Jian said that you were improving very quickly in the academy. Didn't I go out to pick a gift for you when I heard that you were coming back? The sword Douluo had gone to see Ning Rongrong, Grandmaster, and the others in Heaven Do City half a year after she entered the Blue Tyrant Academy. Naturally, he also knew about Ning Rongrong's cultivation situation back then. Really? I don't believe it. Ning Rongrong glanced at Ning Fengji. Where's the gift? Ning Fengji hurriedly took out the items that he had bought at the auction from his soul tool. After Ning Rongrong finished looking at them, she couldn't help but cover her mouth and laugh. Daddy, I already have all these things of yours. Third brother made one for each of the 6 of us. The gift that Ning Fengji took out was naturally the few hidden weapons that Tang San had sold at the auction, the hidden innuendo. After hearing this, Ning Fengji was shocked. He saw Ning Rongrong skipping to one side and revealing all the hidden weapons on her body. Sleeve arrows, zhuge repeating crossbows. These were all made by your third brother? Ning Fengji frowned slightly as he thought about the 2 young kids that he had met at the auction. So that young kid was the third brother that Rongrong was talking about? Of course. Third brother's hidden weapons are very powerful. I wanted to come back earlier to tell you about it, Daddy. Ning Rongrong nodded. Grandpa Jian, do you want to try these hidden weapons? The set that I'm wearing is stronger than the one that you bought. After hearing this, the sword Douluo and the bone Douluo tried to push each other back. In the end, the bone Douluo stepped forward under Ning Rongrong's request. Grandpa Bone, come on. It's your fault for not coming to see me. Ning Rongrong walked to the plaza outside. The bone Douluo was known for his defensive abilities. Naturally, he wasn't afraid of these hidden weapons. However, Ning Rongrong was very strange. Her attacks were very tricky. Sometimes, she would pretend that she didn't want to play anymore. Then, she would shoot out a silent sleeve arrow or a loaded zhuge divine crossbow arrow. Otherwise, she would skip in front of the 2 of them. With a shake of her leg, she would shoot all sorts of sharp hidden weapons towards the bone Douluo. It was really hard to defend against a hidden attack. In addition, this was the first time that the bone Douluo had seen such an attack. He was a little overwhelmed, but he wasn't hurt. However, he was still scared out of his wit. Little princess, don't you think you have too many little toys on you? The bone Douluo was really scared out of his wit. He controlled his attacks well. While he blocked these hidden weapons, he couldn't hurt Ning Rongrong. It's okay. Ning Rongrong walked over and turned around shyly. Grandpa Bone, do you think that Rongrong has become thinner? The bone Douluo nodded subconsciously. He thought to himself that Shrek Academy is really too much. Rongrong is much thinner than she was a year ago. However, right at this moment, Ning Rongrong turned around and suddenly accelerated. A beam of cold light shot out from her waist. Seeing this, the bone Douluo was shocked. This little girl is really smart. This hidden weapon is really suitable for her. She's suddenly using this move on you. The beam of cold light shot over. It was too close. The bone Douluo only managed to grab it when the arrow was an inch away from his eye socket. After that, the arrow was squeezed, and it spewed out a poisonous fog. Cough, cough, cough. The poisonous fog wasn't very strong, but it caused the bone Douluo to be at a disadvantage. End of chapter. Chapter 234. Hee Grandpa Goo, you've been hit. However, this is a poisonous fog that can make enemies cry. It's not harmful. You can cry for a while. Ning Rongrong was a little smug as she spoke. The sword Douluo and Ning Fengji looked at each other when they saw this. They didn't expect these hidden weapons to be so difficult to defend against. I won't do it again. The bone Douluo walked out of the poisonous fog. His face was covered in tears. However, his soul power was abundant and he quickly recovered. Ning Rongrong walked over and hurriedly took out a handkerchief from her soul tool. She wiped the bone Douluo's tears. Grandpa Goo, I'm sorry. I went overboard just now. Ning Rongrong said softly. Ning Fengji was even more astonished when he saw this. Is this still my little demoness? When did she become so obedient and sensible? I don't even know how to teach her a lesson. Ning Fengji coughed a few times. When he saw the bone Douluo get hit, he thought that she had gone overboard. He wanted to teach her a lesson. He didn't expect her to be so obedient and sensible. She had changed too much. Uncle Jian, why has Rongrong changed so much? Ning Fengji lowered his voice and asked. When I first went to Soto City and went to the Great Star Do Forest, she changed quite a lot. The last time I saw her in Heaven Do City, she changed even more. The sword Douluo laughed. You didn't believe me. Now you've seen it for yourself. How could there be such a huge change? Could it be that a year ago that brat's kick had an effect? Oh yes, was he still in the academy when you went to Heaven Do City? Ning Fengji continued asking. He was referring to a year ago, when the sword Douluo had gone to cause trouble for Wang Feng after Wang Feng had kicked Ning Rongrong and bullied her to tears. Ning Fengji naturally knew what happened after the sword Douluo returned. That kid is very special. When I went there, I didn't see him. I heard that he had gone to cultivate. The sword Douluo was astonished. A year ago, he was the youth who took 3 kicks from him in the Great Star Do Forest. The sword Douluo had a deep impression of him. At this moment, Ning Rongrong finished wiping away the bone Douluo's tears. Her face suddenly flushed, and she sounded a little excited. Grandpa Gu, Grandpa Jian, Daddy. I came back this time for something more important. Ning Fengji walked over and asked curiously, My precious daughter, do you have anything more important? The sword Douluo was also a little curious, while the bone Douluo's eyes were still a little red, but they were fine now, and they both looked at Ning Rongrong. He didn't know what other important things this little witch had to say. So excited? Hee, Ning Rongrong was slightly excited. Let me show you my martial soul. What's so good about a martial spirit? Don't you understand? When Ning Fengji heard this, he couldn't help but smile. I watched you grow up since you were young. How could I not know that you, suddenly, Ning Fengji's voice stopped abruptly. Then, 3 pairs of eyes suddenly widened. Ning Rongrong's soul rings lit up, and the 9-treasure star-glazed pagoda in her hand blossomed with a peerless light. This is, Ning Fengji was stunned. The pagoda was shining with 9 different colors, and there was even starlight shining inside. He could almost tell at a glance what it was. 9-treasure glazed pagoda, Ning Fengji exclaimed. The other 2 titled Douluo were also astonished. After the 2 of them joined the 7 treasures glazed pagoda, they naturally knew its strengths and weaknesses. They didn't expect Rongrong to be able to evolve the 7 treasures glazed pagoda into the 9 treasures glazed pagoda. This meant that Ning Rongrong could cultivate to the level of a titled Douluo. Because Ning Fengji only had the 7 treasures glazed pagoda, he was only at rank 79, and couldn't advance any further. At this moment, the sword Douluo said, No, Fengji, look carefully. I'm afraid there are more than 9 levels, and this isn't the normal evolved 9 treasures glazed pagoda. The 2 titled Douluo naturally sensed it very clearly. Ning Fengji was too shocked, and he slowly regained his senses. After taking a closer look, he realized that this wasn't the normal evolved 9 treasures glazed pagoda. It wasn't that he hadn't seen the 9 treasures glazed pagoda before. In the history of the sect, such a situation had occurred before. This is... Ning Fengji stared inside the pagoda, and the 10 stars that were shining with intense light. The 3 of them looked at each other. Could it be a mutation? Ning Rongrong seemed to enjoy seeing their astonished expressions and said happily, Daddy, this isn't just the 9 treasures glazed pagoda. It's the 9 treasures star-glazed pagoda, and there's even more special power of the stars inside. The amplification effect of my soul skills has increased by 20%, and more importantly, the amplification effect of my growth has increased by 1% with every rank. In the past, the amplification effect of her soul skills increased by 1% with every rank she increased, but now it was 2%. This was actually a very frightening amplification effect, and it was a group amplification effect. Even though Ning Rongrong had mutated after absorbing the herbs at rank 31, she had an amplification effect of 120% when she reached rank 91. After hearing this, Ning Fengji was stunned. Ning Fengji could still understand the 20% amplification effect. However, this amplification effect was a little terrifying. Power of the stars? Rongrong, how did you get this? Ning Fengji couldn't help but swallow a mouthful of saliva. Ning Rongrong's face glowed with happiness, and she said excitedly, "It's Brother Feng. He and third brother brought back a very mysterious herb called sky-weaving stars. After I ate this herb, my soul power increased by 7 ranks, and my martial soul also mutated. Moreover, this medicinal herb was personally cultivated by him." Ning Rongrong was a little shy as she spoke. After hearing this, the three of them fell silent. Ning Fengji suddenly gave the sword Douluo a look. The sword Douluo nodded slightly and walked to Ning Rongrong's side, and his soul power gently circled around Ning Rongrong's soul power. "There's no problem." The sword Douluo heaved a sigh of relief. "You're still doubting me?" Ning Rongrong was stunned and she was furious. "What? You're still doubting me? Are you going to doubt your own daughter too?" She was very angry. She had never been so angry before. "Baby girl, we're just taking precautions." Ning Fengji hurriedly apologized. "The main thing is that it's too magical. Even if we saw it with our own eyes, we wouldn't believe it. Furthermore, you're my only daughter, so I naturally have to worry about your martial soul and the condition of your body. Father apologizes to you here. Tell us the details." Ning Rongrong snorted and nodded slightly. She then told them about how Wang Feng and Tang San brought the herb for her to consume. She also told them about the herb's function and so on. Ning Rongrong naturally didn't say much about the others. After listening to her, "Sky-weaving stars. What kind of divine herb is this?" Ning Fengji muttered. "Wait, Rongrong, you said that this herb was cultivated by him?" The sword Douluo asked strangely. "The brother Feng you're talking about, is he that kid called Wang Feng, right?" Ning Rongrong nodded slightly. "This young man is really amazing." The sword Douluo muttered, "Fengji, do you understand? He's able to cultivate this divine herb. What does this mean?" Ning Fengji nodded seriously and said in a deep voice, "Rongrong, tomorrow I'll go to your academy with you, to see this third brother who made the hidden weapon and the young man who cultivated this divine herb. Coincidentally, when you came back last time, I was already interested." Okay. When Ning Rongrong heard this, she wasn't afraid at all. Instead, she happily hugged Ning Fengji. "Hee, Wang Feng, you're not coming, but my father is coming to see you. There will be more in the afternoon and evening." End of chapter. Chapter 235. Heaven Do City, Shrek Academy. In the forest of the Academy's main campus, a plaza had been cleared out. Several figures crossed each other. Blue-silver grass rose into the air as a purplish-gold light flashed past, followed by a pink figure. The crimson flames spread through the forest covered by blue-silver grass, setting off waves of fire. In the air, Ma Hongjun sprouted a pair of flaming wings on his back and spat out streams of phoenix fire. "Fatty, watch out! Big Brother Feng is coming for you." At this moment, a delicate voice suddenly sounded from the fire forest below. It was Xiao Wu's voice. "I don't see him. Where is he?" Ma Hongjun's eyes searched the flames below and asked doubtfully. "He's behind you." Oscar jumped in fright. He had also eaten a mushroom and was flying in the air. Before Ma Hongjun could turn his head, he felt a huge force kick him down from behind. He crashed into the ground, creating waves of fire. Wang Feng landed on the ground and clapped his hands, looking at Oscar. "I admit defeat." Oscar hurriedly landed on the ground. The fire lotus in Wang Feng's palm spun and absorbed all the fire, revealing the figures inside. They were Zhu Zhuqing, Tang San, Xiao Wu, and Ma Hongjun, who had just landed on the ground. However, they were all covered in wounds. "Fatty, your Phoenix Sky Strike can temporarily lift you into the air, but your fire control isn't good enough. Your body temperature is too high, so you can't fly with others. Wang Feng glanced at the three. Do you remember the battle with the Imperial battle team half a year ago? That Imperial wind brought his team to the battlefield behind you. With that, Wang Feng walked over and pulled them up from the ground one by one. Zhu Qing, your attack power has become stronger. However, your power is too great, causing your control to be lacking. Earlier, if you had controlled your power and attacked me with all your strength at the end, you would have been able to block my attack. You wouldn't have held back from the start. Wang Feng thought for a moment and glanced at Zhu Zhuqing. Zhu Zhuqing's attacks had become stronger because of her mutated martial soul, but she couldn't control her power well enough. Okay. Zhu Zhuqing nodded slightly. Wang Feng looked at Tang San and said, Little Three, you used your blue-silver grass to trap Xiao Wu and Zhu Qing just now because you wanted to attack me with a double-headed meteor hammer, right? It was a good idea, but it was harder to control two people than one, so it didn't work. In the end, it was you who used the 8-spider spear to pin me down. Tang San nodded with a smile. You're missing a few people. The strength of the 7 of you isn't fully displayed. Let's train next time. Wang Feng shook his head. After returning for a few days, the master asked him to take some time to train them. Wang Feng also wanted to see their strength, so he trained them. Chang had indeed become stronger because he had consumed the immortal herb. However, they were still unable to defeat him in a short period of time. If there were 7 of them, they should be able to force Wang Feng to hide his mysterious underworld armor and activate his second level of strength. After all of his bones and blood had been tempered by the Red Lotus Hellfire, and his psychic power had been greatly enhanced. He could see through their attacks at a glance. Tang San's third level of purple demon eyes could agitate an enemy's psychic power and cause them to be dizzy and confused if their psychic power wasn't strong enough or if they weren't prepared. However, it still had little effect on Wang Feng. After the Red Lotus Hellfire had tempered his body, his psychic soul was abnormally pure, and he wasn't affected by any spiritual attacks at all. Xiao Wu's charm was the same. Brother Feng, I remember that you were still affected by my charm when we fought before. Xiao Wu walked over and wiped the dust off her face. She frowned and said, Why aren't you affected now? In the past, her charm soul skill could at least make Wang Feng pause for a few seconds. It was an effective soul skill to restrain Wang Feng. I've adapted. Wang Feng smiled. This kind of spiritual type soul skill is very rare, but I've adapted to it. Of course, he was talking nonsense. Xiao Wu pursed her lips and smiled. She didn't believe him. I clearly feel that I've become a lot stronger, but why can't I hold on for long? Ma Hongjun was a little doubtful. I have a third soul skill, I ate the immortal herb, and the evil fire is gone. I've clearly become a lot stronger. You've become stronger, but Monster Captain has also become stronger. Oscar walked over and handed them a roasted sausage. Do you think he's still the same Monster Captain from a year ago? Ma Hongjun took the sausage and ate it. Of course I know. They discussed for a while. Zhu Zhuqing continued to cultivate. The crescent violet silk in her body still had a lot of medicinal effect. After a battle, she would cultivate harder and her soul power would increase even faster. Ma Hongjun and Oscar didn't lag behind either. Dai Mubai went to the setting sun forest with Lu Erlong to obtain his 4th soul ring. There's still half a year before the Advanced Soul Master Tournament. Brother Feng is so strong. How can we lose then? Xiao Wu giggled. Brother Feng is already so strong. He even ate the immortal herb and his strength increased greatly. Maybe we'll be over rank 40 in half a year. With Brother Feng, we'll definitely win the championship. There was only half a year until the Continental Advanced Soul Master Tournament. Master said that Brother Feng won't fight with us. He has his own things to do. Tang San shook his head and smiled. Hearing this, Xiao Wu looked at Wang Feng in astonishment. Really? Wang Feng nodded. He might participate in the Continental Advanced Soul Master Tournament with another identity. Naturally, there was a reason. At this moment, a student rushed over. When he saw Tang San, he shouted, "Tang San, Tang San! Tang San, Tai Long's grandfather, Tai Long is here to look for you. Quickly go and take a look." Seeing this student, Tang San and Xiao Wu were stunned. "Wow, Brother Feng, you really have a crow's mouth." Xiao Wu looked at Wang Feng angrily. Speaking of which, it really happened. Tang San was also a little speechless. He felt a little helpless against Brother Feng's crow's mouth. "Let's go and take a look." A glint flashed across Wang Feng's eyes. "My victory against Tinan was partly due to luck. If we were to fight again, I would definitely lose." On the way, Tang San thought, "Furthermore, I saw that this family seems to have the same inherited martial soul. Tai Long is a rank 37 vigor gorilla, while Tinan is a rank 58 vigor gorilla. His grandfather should be a rank 70 soul sage, right? Even if he's a soul Douluo, I think. This is troublesome." Tang San's deduction could be said to be very accurate. Based on the strength of his son and father, he could easily deduce the range of their abilities. The dean and teacher Lu have gone to help Tiger Dai hunt soul beasts. Only teacher Zhao Wuji is still in the academy. Xiao Wu thought for a while, and her expression turned a little ugly. "If he's really a soul Douluo, Brother Feng, I don't care. You must do something." Wang Feng laughed awkwardly and said, "Xiao Wu, when did I give you the impression that I'm comparable to a soul Douluo?" End of chapter. Chapter 236. A soul Douluo. If he were to unleash his full power, he might still be able to put up a fight. However, the chances of him losing were rather high, unless he activated the Pengu Act. However, how could Wang Feng possibly use it? It could only be said that Wang Feng was confident that he could escape unscathed from a soul Douluo. Xiao Wu was also stunned. She thought about it. That makes sense. Brother Feng is only at rank 39. Maybe it's the feeling of being invincible. Tang San also smiled and said, "Don't worry. They're here to look for trouble. They won't do anything to me." The group quickly walked to the academy's entrance. Right now, there were already many people surrounding them. There was no helping it. With Tinan's group's physique, it was impossible for them not to attract attention. In the center, Tinan and Tai Long stood next to an elderly man. Although he was an elderly man, his physique was not inferior to the middle-aged Tinan's at all. His aura was even stronger. Very soon, Tang San and the others walked over. "Xiao Wu, Tang San. I'm sorry." Tai Long also seemed to feel a little embarrassed. He mouthed something to Tang San and Xiao Wu. After all, if he hid his son, his father would come. If he hid his father, his grandfather would come. Tai Long also felt a little embarrassed. Tai Long's grandfather, Tai Long, seems to really be a soul Douluo. The moment Tang San saw that elderly man, his heart sank. The purple demon eyes gave him extremely strong observation abilities. Right now, when he looked at the elderly man in the center through the layers of thin fog, he felt as if he was an ancient ferocious beast. He was much stronger than Tinan. Between the two of you, who is Tang San and Wang Feng? Tai Long's gaze swept across the three of them, giving them a feeling as if a huge mountain was pressing down on them. It was so heavy that they found it hard to breathe. "I'm Tang San. I'm the one who hit Tinan." Tang San took a step forward. There was no fear in his eyes, and his voice was clear. Wang Feng smiled and glanced at him. This Tai Long did not have any ill intentions toward him. Clearly, it was because he had saved Tinan. "All right." Tai Long glanced at Wang Feng and said calmly, "You hurt my son and grandson. It's their own fault for not being capable. Seeing that this kid saved my grandson, I won't argue with you. But that doesn't mean that my clan is weak. How about this? I won't use my martial soul or soul power. Either one of you can withstand my pressure for the time it takes for an incense stick to burn. You can make a request. If you can't hold on, then it's simple. Let my son and grandson beat you up." Upon hearing that, Tang San was stunned. He thought to himself, this request doesn't seem to be too difficult. It was probably because Brother Feng had treated Tinan before, so this old man was quite understanding. But think about it. This was a soul Douluo. How could he possibly hold on? Tang San's heart was not at ease. Instead, it was very solemn. "Brother!" Xiao Wu looked at Tang San worriedly. "Little three, don't you still have 2 stalks of medicinal power left in your body?" Wang Feng asked. "You can use this pressure to achieve a breakthrough." Tang San nodded. He also had the same idea. After taking a deep breath, Tang San walked in front. "If you can't hold on, just fall to the ground or take a few steps back," Tai Tan said indifferently. After saying that, Tai Tan shot out 2 streaks of rainbow light toward the ground. It was 2 incense sticks. Everyone was shocked when they saw this. After all, the ground was made of white jade rock and was extremely hard. Tang San's expression turned solemn. Back then, Ji Lin's soul had also used a similar soul power pressure. However, Ji Lin's soul had gradually increased his strength, giving him a chance to adapt. Furthermore, the other party was a control-type soul master. Compared to this assault-type soul master who was purely a strength-type soul master, the pressure was far inferior. The moment Tai Tan released the pressure, an invisible wave slowly retreated from the air and dispersed. Others might not feel it, but Tang San felt as if his entire body was being crazily squeezed. Without any hesitation, Tang San released his blue-silver grasp. This kind of pressure was omnidirectional. It had to be known that different types of soul masters would condense different amounts of soul power pressure. Among them, it was closely related to the soul master's martial soul, soul rings, and so on. Rank was only one of the factors. For example, a soul master like Titan who had a martial soul, soul rings, and cultivation path was extremely simple. His pure strength was very terrifying, and the pressure he released was even more powerful. A rank 46 soul power pressure, perhaps only a little more than half of it. This Titan has a very clear understanding of Tang San. Wang Feng thought to himself. His body was very sensitive to soul power pressure. Others might not be able to detect it, but he could feel it very subtly. His body was too strong now. It was strong in all aspects. If his brain and sternum were also tempered by the karmic fire of the Red Lotus, Wang Feng estimated that his body would directly undergo an even greater change. Little 3 is not a strength-type soul master. As long as this Titan doesn't act recklessly, he should be able to withstand this pressure and break through. Wang Fengxin thought. He actually had this thought. On one hand, he could test his current body. On the other hand, his soul power might also break through because of this. At this moment, Tang San had already wrapped himself like a dumpling with his blue-silver grass. Obviously, he was using the same technique as last time to use his martial soul to reduce the pressure. Unfortunately, the pressure released by Titan was several levels stronger than that of Ji Lin Douluo. He couldn't lift it at all. Brother seems to be unable to take it anymore. Xiao Wu watched as her hands were clasped together. Her palms were sweating. She could vaguely hear the sound of Tang San's bones being distorted by the pressure. However, only Wang Feng could sense that Tang San was using the medicinal power of the 2 herbs to resist. He wasn't worried. Furthermore, under this kind of pressure, it could stimulate the medicinal power hidden in his body. It was a very good opportunity for him to grow. Soon, Tang San's 8-bone spider spear also appeared, using it to resist the pressure. External soul bone? Titan frowned and the pressure increased again. The pressure increased and Tang San, who was already at his limit, almost collapsed. It was also at this moment that Tang San's eyes emitted 2 rays of golden light that attacked Titan's eyes. This should be the third level of the purple demon eyes, the attack effect of the mustard seed realm? A spiritual attack formed by his gaze? It's slightly stronger than Xiao Wu's charm soul skill. Naturally, Wang Feng saw it clearly. A spiritual attack. Even if it was a soul skill, it was extremely rare. However, this spiritual attack shouldn't have much effect on me. Wang Feng thought to himself. Titan received this kind of spiritual attack because he was unprepared. Secondly, he walked the path of strength, and his spiritual power wasn't outstanding. Titan only felt dizzy under the spiritual attack. Naturally, he couldn't maintain the pressure anymore. At the same time, Tang San spat out a mouthful of blood. He took a few steps back. It wasn't that he wanted to admit defeat, but that he really couldn't take it anymore. Fortunately, he felt that the Yangwei meridian in his body had been opened. He gained a lot. End of chapter. Chapter 237. At this time, Xiao Wu hurriedly walked over and supported Tang San. Seeing Tang San's pale face, Xiao Wu's heart ached. She glared fiercely at Hercules. Good boy! Hercules came back to his senses and looked at Tang San with surprise in his eyes. No wonder his son and grandson were no match for this boy. He was a soul elder over level 30? Your eyes were shining with golden light just now. What was that? Tai Tan stared at Tang San. Seeing that the other party couldn't even speak, he didn't ask much. There's still 1/3 left. Do you still want to persist? Tang San was silent. If he persisted, he would inevitably expose the clear sky hammer, and his body couldn't bear it. At this time, Wang Feng said with a smile, Little San, you take a rest first. Let me do it. Tang San was slightly stunned. Only then did he remember Tai Tan's condition. As long as any one of them could hold on for an incense stick's time, it would be considered a success. Seeing this, Tang San didn't think much and nodded. Just now, he had a breakthrough in his 8 extraordinary meridians. At this time, he could recover while watching. Little madman, be careful. This guy's soul power pressure is not simple. Zhao Wuji reminded. Since Douluo came to the academy, he had been calling Wang Feng Little Madman. Several teachers also learned this name. Now that Douluo had temporarily left, these teachers didn't change the way they addressed him. Wang Feng waved his hand and walked forward. I heard from my grandson that you are an auxiliary-type soul master, but you defeated 2 soul warriors over level 40? Seeing Tang San go down, Tai Tan was relieved. If someone died, he couldn't take responsibility. At this time, seeing Wang Feng come out, he frowned slightly and said, Since this is the case, it means that you are also very strong. I won't stop you just because you are an auxiliary-type soul master. Also, don't think of using that kind of attack with shining eyes like Tang San just now. I'm already prepared. Hercules snorted coldly. Then don't be polite. Come at me. Wang Feng said bluntly, otherwise, senior, you can use your martial soul and soul power. I won't care. Hearing this, Hercules was stunned. The others were also stunned. It was unknown at the scene. This young man is Wang Feng? Ning Rongrong, Ning Fengji, the Bone Douluo, and Ning Rongrong were watching this scene from outside the academy. Just now, when Tang San fell to the ground, they came. Yes, yes, yes. Ning Rongrong nodded. Her eyes sparkled as she looked at Wang Feng. Only his father and Grandpa Gu had come, while Grandpa Jian was overseeing the sect. Interesting. Let's not go in first. Let's see how strong this young man is. Ning Fengji looked at Wang Feng with admiration in his eyes. You're a handsome young man, comparable to me when I was young. Wang Feng is much better looking than you were when you were young. Ning Rongrong snorted and retorted. The Bone Douluo chuckled and said, Rongrong, when your father was young, he was indeed very handsome. Look at how beautiful you are now. You should be able to charm these little fellows, right? Ning Fengji was not angry that his daughter had exposed him. He only thought to himself, It seems like Rongrong has taken a liking to this young man called Wang Feng. That's true. Take Rongrong as an example. This young man was probably the first one who dared to bully her. After interacting with him for a long time, she slowly developed a good impression of him. In addition, he was strong and talented. It was normal for her to like him. Ning Fengji was experienced, and naturally knew how Ning Rongrong liked someone. Grandpa Gu, you have to make a move later. Otherwise, if that Hercules injures Wang Feng, I'm afraid it will be impossible for you to get him to cultivate herbs for my father. Ning Rongrong was a little worried. Oh? Don't tell me we can't make a deal with him? Ning Fengji smiled. Divine herbs are precious and priceless, but our 7-treasure glazed tile sect has plenty of money. Hee father, you're wrong. Ning Rongrong's eyes curved into crescents. Wang Feng won't fall for that. No matter how high the price you offer, it's useless if he isn't willing. If you use Grandpa Gu's power to pressure him, he won't agree. After spending more than a year together, Ning Rongrong clearly understood Wang Feng. Ha, who said so? However, Ning Fengji smiled. Our 7-treasure glazed tile sect has the most precious treasure. He can have the most precious and peerless treasure. As long as I take it out and give it to him, he will definitely agree. What treasure? Ning Rongrong asked curiously. Why don't I know that the sect has such a treasure? The Bon Douluo couldn't help but laugh. Rongrong, the 7-treasure glazed tile sect. In our hearts, other than you, what treasure is more precious than you? Hearing this, Ning Rongrong's face turned red. Father, Grandpa Gu, what nonsense are you talking about? You're so annoying. Ning Rongrong ran over and punched the two of them. However, the two of them laughed even louder. At this moment, in the academy, the pressure on the Titan began to increase. To be honest, this kid's words made him a little angry, but he still saved his son. He didn't act recklessly. Just like before, he released about 60% of his pressure. The air seemed to have solidified. Layers of invisible pressure, like the pressure of the deep sea, squeezed Wang Feng's body from all directions. However, Wang Feng's expression didn't change. He didn't even frown. It had to be said that this Titan walked the path of pure strength, so the pressure was very terrifying. It was even stronger than the Dream God machine. However, it was a pity that Wang Feng wasn't the Wang Feng of the Heaven Do Academy. It's not enough, Senior. Wang Feng shook his head and said, If you continue like this, I won't have a problem even if it takes 10 incense sticks, let alone 30. Wang Feng wasn't being pretentious, he was just speaking the truth. He didn't even use his soul power. However, everyone was shocked when they heard this. This little lunatic, his strength has increased so much? Zhao Wuji scratched his head. If he can really last that long, I'll have to use my martial soul. This kid didn't even use his martial soul. Tang San, who was slowly recovering, and Xiao Wu also looked at each other and watched quietly. Since that's the case, don't blame me. The Titan's face darkened. The pressure attacked Wang Feng like a roaring torrent. This time, he used about 70% of his strength. Just now, he had only used 60% of his strength against Tang San. The pressure brought by this 10% was not a simple addition or subtraction. In the distance, how can this Titan be so calculative with a junior? Seeing this, the Bon Douluo immediately scolded in a low voice. He used about 70% of his pressure. With his path, even a rank 50 Soul Emperor won't be able to withstand this pressure for 30 minutes. Ning Rongrong, who was at the side, also had a hint of worry in her eyes. This single layer of pressure from a Soul Douluo was multiplied by several times. Ning Fengji also frowned slightly. He thought for a moment and was about to stop him. At this moment, he heard Wang Feng laugh. Senior, it's still not enough. Put in more effort. 1/3 of the incense stick has already run away. In an instant there was silence. The Titan's thick eyebrows were knitted together. He looked at Wang Feng expressionlessly. The pressure increased by another 10%. End of chapter. Chapter 238. 80% pressure. This pressure turned Wang Feng's body into a statue. He couldn't move at all. Not even a strand of his hair moved. Comfortable. Wang Feng closed his eyes and felt the pressure on his body. The Titan's pressure wasn't normal at all. It was much stronger than the Dream God machine. Although there seemed to be a difference of a few levels, the power was too terrifying. It was like an endless sea, crashing towards you like raging waves, incomparably turbulent. I can only activate the meteoric tier if it's 100% pressure? Wang Feng groaned. He didn't want to use the Xianming armor to resist the pressure. He wanted the meteoric tier. He had been stuck at rank 39 for too long. His soul power had been compressed. Although it was getting purer, it wasn't completely compressed. It would take him a long time to reach rank 40. If he could activate the meteoric tier, even a small amount of energy would be able to increase his soul power rank. However, after his body was tempered by the karmic fire of the Red Lotus, it was difficult for him to reach his limit. Even with 80% of the Titan's pressure, it was impossible for him to withstand it for half an hour. Wang Feng's soul power circulated around his body. He didn't release his martial soul. He just wanted his body to reach its limit. Wang Feng didn't feel the pain of the pressure. No matter how painful it was, it couldn't compare to the pain of the karmic fire of the Red Lotus. However, at that moment, the crowd looked at Wang Feng in shock. Even the Titan was shocked. He can still withstand 80% of the pressure? He glanced at the incense on the ground. Almost half of it was gone. Brother, what happened during that half a year? Xiao Wu looked at Wang Feng and asked in shock. I don't know. Tang San was silent for a moment. During that half a year, he and Wang Feng entered the icefire Yin Yang well to cultivate. He only saw Wang Feng bathing in flames and then jumping into the icefire Yin Yang well. Maybe he was using flames to temper his body? However, Tang San didn't know what kind of flames it was or how strong the tempering was. Therefore, he didn't know how strong Wang Feng's body was. He only knew that poison didn't seem to be effective on Wang Feng. The incense slowly burned. When there was only 1/10 of it left, the Titan felt a little nervous. Because the other party's eyes were closed the entire time, Tai Tan was afraid that the other party would die if he was careless. At this moment, Wang Feng suddenly opened his eyes and glanced at Na Xiang. Tai Tan narrowed his eyes when he saw Wang Feng open his eyes. While he was shocked, he also heaved a sigh of relief. But then, Wang Feng suddenly said, Senior, just raise it to 100%. I want to test all of your pressure. As soon as the words were spoken, everyone was shocked. What a little lunatic! Zhao Wuji was so scared that he broke out in a cold sweat. 100% pressure. I can't even last a few seconds. Indeed, even if his martial spirit possessed his body, he wouldn't be able to withstand 100% of the Titan's pressure. What is Big Brother Feng trying to do? Tang San thought to himself. Last time at the Heaven Do Imperial Academy, he was also at his limit. It seemed like he was trying to force himself into a corner. Tang San was very smart. The 2 times had already made him think of something. Is it possible that it's a special way to improve his strength? Tang San thought, if it's true, it's too dangerous. If he's not careful, he might even lose his life. However, if there's really such a cruel way, then the benefits will be even greater. No wonder Big Brother Feng is so strong. Tang San didn't dare to imagine this kind of special cultivation method between life and death. It's okay to do it once in a while, but if you do it often, isn't that giving your life to the King of Hell? You don't know if you'll die that day. Tang San's idea was right. If Wang Feng didn't have the meteoric tier, he wouldn't dare to do this even if he was beaten to death. At this moment, Hercules also quivered. 100%? Boy, you dare to say that? I don't want to do this either. If I use 100%, won't you die? With your talent, won't the teachers of your academy fight me to the death? Titan wasn't stupid. This boy's talent was so terrifying, but he was only a support-type soul master. If he really killed him, what should he do? Senior, if you don't use 100%, you're going to lose. Wang Feng glanced at Na Xiang. A smile appeared on his slightly pale face. If you lose, I'll make a request. Your family will have to be our slaves in the future. Wang Feng also knew that Tai Tan wouldn't release 100% of his pressure, so he could only use these words to provoke him. After all, Tai Tan didn't know that Little San was from the Clear Sky sect, Tang Hao's son, and the future master of their family. Sure enough, Hercules was enraged when he heard this. Their clan could be said to be loyal and devoted. They only served one sect, so how could they switch sides? Oh no! Zhao Wuji didn't even have time to say anything. The Herculean god let out a low roar, and the pressure from his entire body surged toward Wang Feng like a sea. Almost instantly, splurt! Wang Feng spat out a mouthful of blood. Seeing this, Ning Rongrong, who was outside the door, was so anxious that she was about to cry. Grandpa Gu, hurry up and stop that titan. Ning Fengji also said, Uncle Gu, do it. This titan wasn't simple. With 100% of his pressure, even a soul sage over rank 70 would be finished. Not to mention a soul elder who wasn't even rank 40? Wait, he's a soul elder? Ning Fengji suddenly thought of something and was a little stunned. However, the Bone Douluo frowned and said, Wait, look at his body. Fengji, this child isn't ordinary. Hearing that, Ning Fengji was jolted awake and looked over. He was stunned by what he saw. Even Ning Rongrong was stunned. At this moment, Wang Feng's entire body was emitting a layer of jade-like light. His entire body was crystal clear and beautiful like a precious jade. From afar, it was even sparkling. Other than his head and chest, his entire body was extremely beautiful. This is... Ning Fengji was also confused. What's going on? This child's body is extraordinary. I've never seen anything like this before, the Bone Douluo said softly. However, it seems like his body has become more solid after enduring such pressure. I believe he's purposely agitating the Titan just now. Hearing that, Ning Fengji was stunned. Are you saying that he's using the Titan's pressure to train himself? Isn't he afraid of dying? What sex training method is this? I've never heard of it before. The Bone Douluo shook his head. He had lived for so many years, but he couldn't even figure out Wang Feng's body's condition. However, as a titled Douluo, he could naturally sense that Wang Feng's body was becoming stronger, because the meteoric tear was released. Dong. After a brief moment, Wang Feng suddenly collapsed to the ground. The meteoric tear didn't release much energy this time. Furthermore, it was all used to repair his body. Wang Feng had underestimated the damage caused by the Titan's 100% pressure. In particular, the Titan walked the path of pure strength. The pressure was even more terrifying. It seems like 90% pressure is the limit. Wang Feng collapsed to the ground. He felt that he had almost died just now. If he were the Wang Feng from the Heaven Do Huang Academy half a year ago, he would have been crushed to pieces. Fortunately, after being tempered by the karmic fire of the Red Lotus, he still had a few breaths left. With the meteoric tear's energy surging out, Wang Feng could finally feel that powerful feeling slowly filling his body. It's too risky. However, I should be able to reach rank 40 this time. It's worth it. At the moment Wang Feng fell, several anxious shouts slowly came from afar. Ning Rongrong, that girl is back too? Doesn't that mean her father is here too? Wang Feng closed his eyes as he thought to himself. Chapter 239. When Wang Feng closed his eyes, he didn't see that everyone was in a daze at this moment. A rank 39 soul master. He resisted the pressure of a rank 82 soul Douluo and didn't die. Our academy actually has such a monster. Tai Long stood beside Tai Tan and muttered, even if Tang San is here, this Wang Feng is actually so freakish. How are we supposed to live? As the chief representative of the Blue Tyrant Academy, Tai Long's thoughts were the thoughts of many other students. However, they were all shocked at this moment and didn't think carefully. If they thought carefully, they would know that Wang Feng didn't even summon his martial soul. Actually, if Wang Feng had summoned his martial soul, the mysterious underworld armor, or used a divinized soul skill on himself to resist the pressure, he wouldn't have been on the verge of death. However, if he had done that, he wouldn't have been able to activate the meteoric tear. Wang Feng. Ning Rongrong ran to Wang Feng's side with tears in her eyes. At this moment, Zhao Wuji had already helped Wang Feng up. Ning Rongrong saw Wang Feng's weak appearance and wanted to be angry, but she couldn't. She only looked at Wang Feng with watery eyes and said softly, "Why are you so stupid? Why are you so silly? Is there a need to cultivate in such a way?" She heard the conversation between the Bon Douluo and Ning Fengji just now and understood why Wang Feng did that. Wang Feng opened his eyes weakly and smiled. He didn't say anything. At this moment, Ning Fengji and the Bon Douluo walked over slowly. "Old chimpanzee, why is your temper still so bad? Can't you tell that this child is provoking you on purpose?" A loud voice came from the Bon Douluo's mouth. Ning Fengji also walked over slowly, and a colorful pagoda appeared in his hand. Wang Feng looked up and glanced at Ning Fengji. He thought to himself, Ning Fengji's martial soul really does feel like the pagoda heavenly kingly Jing. When the crowd saw these two people walking over, they all had extraordinary auras. They were all curious about the identities of these two people. The Seven Treasure Glazed Tile Sect. Ning Fengji? A titled Douluo? Zhao Wuji was shocked. He didn't expect Ning Rongrong to bring these two with her? This little ancestor, at this moment, Tai Tan's expression was a little ugly. When he released his full pressure, he knew that this brat called Wang Feng was indeed deliberately provoking him. But after releasing it, he couldn't take it all back. Fortunately, this brat was truly a monster among monsters. He only spat out a mouthful of blood and fainted. Looking at the way those small eyes were darting around, it probably wasn't fatal. Tai Tan thought to himself as he looked at the newcomers, and was slightly taken aback. So it's Sect Master Ning of the Seven Treasure Glazed Tile Sect, and the Bon Douluo. What can I do for you? After saying that, Tai Tan withdrew his aura. The sect leader of the Seven Treasure Glazed Tile Sect, which was ranked second among the three upper sects, had two titled Dalu. He didn't dare to treat them lightly. "You old gorilla, why are you making a bet with two young kids for no reason? Aren't you embarrassed?" The Bon Douluo flicked his sleeves and said, "Give me some face and forget about this bet." Ning Fengji also looked at Titan. The two of them watched from the shadows for a long time. To be honest, they were both geniuses. The one called Tang San was a genius. This Wang Feng couldn't be described as a genius anymore. They didn't expect him to take on Tai Tan's full pressure. Tai Tan frowned slightly. It was fine to give them some face, but, at this moment, Tang San slowly stepped forward and said in a deep voice, "You just said that as long as one of us can hold on for an incense stick's time, there is less than 1/5 of Brother Feng's incense stick left. I will bear it for Brother Feng. You didn't say that both of us can't hold on for an incense stick's time?" As he spoke, Tang San stepped forward. Since Big Brother Feng could do this, now that he had recovered a bit, he felt that he should also try. Hearing this, Tai Tan was stunned. Ning Fengji and the Bon Douluo were also stunned. Xiao Wu was about to persuade him. Tang San looked at Ning Fengji and the Bon Douluo. His gaze fell on Ning Fengji and paused. "You should be Sect Master Ning of the Seven Treasure Glazed Tile Sect, right?" Ning Fengji nodded with a smile. This child should have guessed it at the auction. After all, when Jioi Kai addressed him as Sect Master Ning, these two children heard it. Rongrong calls you third brother. You can call me Uncle Ning. Tang San nodded and said in a deep voice, Uncle Ning, this is between us and Senior Tai Tan. Brother Feng and I don't want to trouble you. So, please let us settle it ourselves. With that, Tang San walked in front of Tai Tan again. Immediately after, Tang San took out the clear sky hammer and placed it in front of him. With this martial soul, he was going to withstand the last 1/5 of the incense stick. Instantly, everyone was shocked. Father, this is... Tinan and Tai Long looked at the small hammer in shock. At this moment, Ning Fengji and the Bone Douluo also looked at Tang San's small hammer. Could this be the clear sky hammer? The Bone Douluo said in surprise. Tai Tan strode over to Tang San and said in a deep voice, Brother Tang San, don't worry. He said in a deep voice, Child, is your father Tang Hao? Tang San was stunned. He didn't understand how this god of strength knew his father's name. On the other hand, Wang Feng found it funny. As the main character, the plot would always be created because of him. It wouldn't change no matter what. Perhaps this is the law of this world? Wang Fengxin laughed secretly. He thought that after his failure and Ning Fengji came out, the story would end temporarily. He didn't expect it to be like this. Next, as Wang Feng expected, after seeing the clear sky hammer, Tang San nodded and said that he was Tang Hao's son. Tai Tan didn't say anything and directly knelt down. Even Tinan and Tai Long behind him did the same. Greetings, young master, Tai Tan said excitedly. Young master. Tang San was a little dazed. From what Tai Tan had heard and seen him release the clear sky hammer, although Tang San was a little confused, he had a rough idea. It must be related to his father. Ning Fengji and the Bone Douluo seemed to have guessed it, and their expressions didn't change. Why did this god of strength call third brother young master? Ning Rongrong was also a little surprised. No matter what, he was a soul Douluo. Wang Feng smiled and didn't say anything. Seeing that everyone's gaze was on Tang San, Wang Feng heaved a sigh of relief. He had some details just now. If someone noticed, it would be easy to see that he had hidden many things just now. Now that everyone's attention was on Tang San, it was even better. It was also in line with Wang Feng's thoughts. However, just as Wang Feng heaved a sigh of relief, he saw Ning Fengji glance at him. Why is he looking at me? Wang Fengxin's heart skipped a beat, and he thought to himself, could it be that Ning Rongrong told her father everything about the sky full of clouds? After giving the divine medicine to the 6 of them, Tang San and Wang Feng had instructed them not to casually reveal the secret of him being able to cultivate divine medicine. Because this was too heaven-defying, everyone agreed to it. This stinky girl. Wang Feng glared at Ning Rongrong weakly. However, Ning Rongrong lowered her head with a red face, and she thought to herself, why is he suddenly looking at me? Could it be? Ning Rongrong pinched the corner of her clothes and didn't dare to look at Wang Feng. Pinch your sister, can't you see my fierce eyes? Wang Fengxin thought, if it weren't for the fact that I'm exhausted, I would definitely beat you up. There will definitely be trouble later. At this moment, Tang San, Tai Tan, Ning Fengji, and the others in the distance had also discussed and decided to go to the Academy's conference room to talk. Wang Feng was supported by Zhao Wuji to the dormitory to rest, and Ning Rongrong was too embarrassed to stay alone. Chapter 240. Wang Feng, I'll ask my father to treat you later. His 7 treasures glazed pagoda has healing abilities. Have a good rest. Ning Rongrong stood at the door, quietly glanced at Wang Feng, and left reluctantly. After Ning Rongrong left for a while, Wang Feng had recovered. He sat cross-legged and felt the situation in his body. His body had almost recovered, but his soul power was a little weak, but he was absorbing it very quickly. Rank 40, It seems that I have to take some time to go to the Great Star Do Forest and card up. Wang Feng's eyes flashed. He came to the Douluo world and only logged in 3 times. Although each time was a long time, he had to admit that the improvement was great. Even the worst additional reward could increase the age of the soul ring. The location of the 4th time was a year ago. A 30,000-year soul ring, I also have one. Wang Feng thought for a while, and not long after, the door was pushed open, and the person who came was Zhu Zhuqing. I heard that you were injured? Zhu Zhuqing stood at the door and glanced at Wang Feng. It's not a serious injury. Wang Feng recovered some strength and smiled. Zhu Zhuqing was about to say a few more words, but at this time, Ma Hongjun and Oscar came, directly making her swallow the words in her throat. Damn, we heard about what happened just now. Captain, you and Tang San are too abnormal, right? Oscar looked as if he had seen a ghost. Ma Hongjun also nodded. That's a contra Douluo. I heard that this Herculean titan walks the path of pure strength and is terrifyingly strong. How did you resist it? Wang Feng smiled and said, they held back and Ning Rongrong's father came and stopped it in time. Ning Rongrong's father came? Ma Hongjun imagined and suddenly exclaimed, damn, her father is Ning Fengji of the 7 Treasure Glaze Tile Sect? Isn't that title Douluo here too? No wonder I was wondering why there were so many people around the academy just now. At this moment, Zhu Zhuqing took a glance at Wang Feng and said to the 2 of them, all right, go out and let Wang Feng have a good rest. The 2 also reacted and hurriedly left the room. When the 3 of them heard the academy student mention it, they immediately left their cultivation and rushed over to take a look. When they saw that he was fine, they were naturally relieved. It's good that someone cares about you. Wang Feng smiled. He couldn't help but think of Ning Rongrong's expression just now. What am I doing to this girl? Too small, please get out of my head. Wang Feng cleared his mind and used this period of time to slowly recover. Meanwhile, in a meeting room, Tang San and Tai Tan had just finished talking about Tang San's background. My father is actually from the Clear Sky sect, and he's even one of the most powerful titled Douluo on the continent? Tang San was shocked when he heard the news. However, when he recalled his father's face, Tang San's heart was filled with longing. Young master, I'll keep your background a secret. Also, you have to be careful of Ning Fengji from the 7 Treasure Glaze Tile Sect. Master once said that you're a man of great talent and bold vision. You can't be underestimated. Tai Tan looked at Tang San with tears in his eyes. On the contrary, Tang San appeared to be a little calm. Although he was extremely shocked, Tang San would not show it. After all, his soul was that of an adult. I understand, Grandpa Tai, Tang San said softly. Suddenly, Tai Tan asked, oh right, is that guy called Wang Feng your friend, young master? Tang San was stunned and nodded. If he's your friend, then you have to be careful. Tai Tan whispered, do you know anything about him? In the battle just now, the most shocking thing was naturally Tai Tan, who had released all of his pressure. He was very clear about the power of his pressure. Even if he was at the same level, he might not be able to withstand it without using his martial soul. Now that he thought about it, Tai Tan was so shocked that he broke out in a cold sweat. That kid must have provoked him to train himself, and from the looks of it, he seemed to have succeeded. Tai Tan also felt the subtle changes in Wang Feng's body. It was obvious that his soul power had increased and become stronger. Tai Tan could not help but feel shocked when he thought about how he had been used as a tool. He was a soul Douluo, but he was being used? And now, this young man was young master's friend? If Tang San was not Tang Hao's son and was just a young prodigy, Tai Tan would not have suspected his background. However, the person in front of him was young master. Tai Tan could not help but suspect that this young man called Wang Feng was background? Of course I know. Tang San frowned and said, Brother Feng and I grew up in the same village. His parents passed away when he was very young. Brother Feng's background is too simple. Tang San knew that Tai Tan was suspecting Brother Feng. However, Tang San really felt that there was nothing to suspect about Brother Feng. Brother Feng and I knew each other earlier than Xiao Wu. It's not an exaggeration to say that we grew up wearing the same pair of pants. However, Brother Feng's behavior is indeed not like a child's. He's more mature than me. Tang San had naturally thought about this problem. He had thought about it a long time ago. In this situation, either Brother Feng was a natural-born genius and knew this since he was born, or Brother Feng was like him, a person whose soul had transmigrated. However, in either case, was there any point in thinking about this? The two of them grew up together and had no grudges. Moreover, Brother Feng had helped him many times. It was enough for Tang San to know that. Moreover, Tang San felt that Brother Feng should be able to guess that he was not simple. Just the hidden weapons alone were enough to make people suspicious. There was also his purple demon eyes and various Tang sect martial art. However, Brother Feng still did not say anything. Moreover, he was not interested in his hidden weapons and poison skills. Back then, when he was in the Icefire Yin-Yang Well, he wanted to teach Brother Feng, but Brother Feng did not learn. It was clear that Brother Feng did not have any good intentions towards him. Most importantly, Brother Feng is much stronger than me. Why would he want to scheme against me? Tang San thought to himself. That simple? However, after Tai Tan heard this, he was dumbfounded. How is that possible? With that kid's strength, how could he be of such an ordinary background? With that kind of strength, talent, and scheming, even the most powerful forces might not be able to cultivate such a young genius? Now you're telling me that he came from an ordinary village, and you grew up together? For a moment, Tai Tan did not know what to say. This. Tai Tan looked at Tang San's serious expression and could not help but think. That brat? Could he really be an exceptional genius that was hard to come by? Although he did not want to admit it, Tai Tan could clearly say that the kid called Wang Feng seemed to be better than young Master in terms of strength and talent. However, young Master was Master's son. Master was one of the most powerful people on the continent. It was normal for him to have such talent. However, that kid was of an ordinary background. Tai Tan could not understand. In fact, this kind of incomprehension was very normal. Because in the Douluo world, the most important thing was the martial spirit, and the martial spirit generally inherited the bloodline of the parents. Apart from the mutation factor, the stronger the parents, the stronger the children. Unfortunately, Wang Feng's parents had passed away. At this time, after Tang San and Tai Tan finished talking, he walked to the room next door where Ningfengji was. There were 3 people in the room. After Tang San entered the room, he and Ningfengji cut to the main topic and directly discussed the hidden weapons. Uncle Ning, I can help you make these hidden weapons, Tang San said in detail, but I can't sell the production method to you. There are several reasons. First, the production method is complicated and it will take at least several years to learn it completely. Second, there are rules about the production method, so I can't easily disclose it for the time being. However, I can tell you the production process, but I need to synthesize it. Chapter 241. To put it simply, Tang San was in charge of the most important assembly, which was also the secret of the Tang sect's hidden weapons. Because the Tang sect's hidden weapons had been passed down for thousands of years, they had accumulated the wisdom of many predecessors, and there were many secrets and techniques in assembly. Ningfengji pondered for a moment and did not refuse. Then, he discussed with Tang San the types of hidden weapons and the supporting equipment. The most important thing was the price. In the end, the price was 5 million gold soul coins. 500 sets of hidden weapons. If Wang Feng were here, he would probably sigh and think that this was easy money. Little San only needed to be in charge of the technology. He did not need to care about the components, materials, or even the process. He only needed to assemble to get 5 million gold soul coins. However, considering that the Tang sect was the only hidden weapon craftsman on the continent, this price was not considered expensive. Oh right, there's one more thing. Ning Fengji pondered for a moment and straightened his clothes. The Bone Douluo walked over slightly. Rongrong's sky full of clouds. I heard that you and that kid called Wang Feng gave it to Rongrong? Ning Fengji's eyes swept over Tang San like a scanner. Tang San was slightly shocked. He thought for a moment and answered, "Yes, I found it. Brother Feng picked it and gave it to Rongrong." "Is that so?" Ning Fengji's eyes flashed. "But why did I hear from Rongrong that this divine herb was carefully cultivated by Wang Feng?" Tang San was slightly stunned when he heard this. He looked at Ning Rongrong. Ning Rongrong stuck out her tongue in embarrassment. She remembered clearly what they had agreed on. However, when she told her father, Ning Rongrong could not help but want to tell him about Wang Feng's power. Seeing that Tang San did not speak, Ning Fengji laughed and said, "Don't be nervous. You don't have to be nervous. Your father and I are old acquaintances. What I mean is, do you have any more of this divine herb?" Tang San shook his head and frowned. "This divine herb is hard to find. Sky full of clouds is even harder to find. There are almost no similar ones. There is also the beautiful silk tulip. It should have a similar effect, but it is not as good as sky full of clouds. Unfortunately, it was eaten by Big Brother Feng from the very beginning. Then he should still be able to cultivate it, right?" Ning Fengji's eyes were burning as he asked. "I don't know about that." Tang San shook his head and said, "Brother Feng said it's very difficult for him to cultivate a second stalk of those divine herbs." Ning Fengji smiled. He knew that Tang San was trying to cover it up, but he didn't ask about it. "Can I ask your friend for more information about Wang Feng?" Ning Fengji glanced at Ning Rongrong and said with a smile, "I'm also curious about your friend, but he's injured right now, so it's not convenient for me to ask." Tang San thought about it and said, "Uncle Ning, I know what you want to ask. I'll tell you directly. Brother Feng's background is simple. I grew up with him and my father knows him well. His parents died when he was born. He's just an ordinary child from a small village." Ning Fengji and the Bone Douluo had the same expression as Tai Tan. A young man who could cultivate such a miraculous medicine and withstand the full pressure of the Herculean Titan, and you're telling me that he's just an ordinary child from a small village? "It's the same even if you investigate," Tang San said with a smile. Ning Fengji and the Bone Douluo couldn't believe it. "How is this possible?" The Bone Douluo murmured, "His body doesn't look like an ordinary person's. I can't see through it, and I've never seen it before. Most importantly, he didn't even release his martial soul just now. I heard from Rongrong that he's an auxiliary-type soul master," Ning Fengji said in a low voice. Both of them thought that Wang Feng's background shouldn't be inferior to Tang San's. However, they thought of the strongest titled Douluo in recent years and found that many of them were correct, so they wanted to ask Tang San this question. But now they got such an answer. Moreover, it seemed like it was true. "Dad, Grandpa Gu, why are you asking this?" Ning Rongrong couldn't stand it anymore. "Don't ask about Wang Feng anymore. Wang Feng's background is bad, but it doesn't affect you." Ning Fengji smiled bitterly and said, "Rongrong, it's not that we don't like his background, but his talent and strength are too exaggerated. You might not have seen it clearly just now, and you don't understand what it means to be able to resist the pressure of the Titan without dying. Let me tell you, there might not be a second person at his age on the entire continent who can do this." Ning Rongrong's level wasn't high in the situation just now, but she felt that Wang Feng was very powerful, very powerful. However, she didn't know how powerful it was or what it was about it. Even Tang San might not understand it completely. "I don't want to know this. Anyway, you're not allowed to ask about Wang Feng anymore." Otherwise, I'll ignore you. Ning Rongrong tilted her head and said angrily. However, when she heard her father praise Wang Feng, she felt happy in her heart. Tang San thought that Rongrong told her father about Brother Feng's secret, probably because she wanted Uncle Ning to know how powerful Brother Feng is. Unfortunately, Brother Feng doesn't seem to be interested in relationships. Brother Feng doesn't seem to want to be involved in relationships. Although Brother Feng also likes to look at beautiful girls with big breasts and long legs, he's not willing to do it for real. Ning Fengji and Gu Douluo looked at each other. At this moment, Tang San handed the blueprints of many hidden weapons to Ning Fengji and left the meeting room. Ning Fengji looked at the blueprints. Tang Hao's son is quite outstanding. He can even make such powerful things. 5 million is not a loss. Just Rongrong's Cloud Weaver's baby stars alone is worth a mere 5 million. This child is Tang Hao's son. His future is limitless, and he has twin martial souls. In another 10 years, he might be another Tang Hao. Gu Douluo looked at the door and said with a smile, furthermore, he's so young and can be so calm in front of people and things. He doesn't look like a 13 or 14-year-old child at all. Not simple. Not simple. Father, you must come over and help Wang Feng recover later. I'll go out first. At this moment, Ning Rongrong also stood up and walked to the door. Suddenly, she turned to look at the two of them and said, also, you can't investigate Wang Feng's matter. If I find out, I'll ignore you in the future. After saying that, Ning Rongrong walked out. Fengji Tang San is Tang Hao's son. It's not good for us to touch him, but this Wang Feng, I'm afraid he's not simple. After Ning Rongrong left, Gu Douluo said in a low voice, the last time Old Sword came back. He said that this child could withstand 3 kicks from his physical strength a year ago. This kid is fine, and he even pretended to vomit blood. Old Sword, on the other hand, was a little uncomfortable. It's only been a year. He can even withstand the pressure of Titan, that old gorilla. His growth is too exaggerated. In the future, when this kid grows up, I'm afraid even Tang Hao won't be his match. Are we really not going to investigate? Ning Fengji thought for a moment and shook his head. No, Tang San doesn't have to lie. Even if we investigate, it's probably the same as what Tang San said. It'll even make Rongrong unhappy. This Wang Feng, Rongrong likes him. However, from what Rongrong and Tang San said, it'll be difficult for this kid to join the 7 treasure glazed tile sect. When he said that, a smile appeared on Ning Fengji's face. But what? As the saying goes, heroes have a weakness for the charms of beautiful women. Let's go, Uncle Gu. Let's go meet this kid and be prepared to beat him up. Otherwise, this kid will bully Rongrong in the future. Chapter 242. After Tang San came out of the conference room, he went to Wang Feng's room first. Brother Feng, Rongrong told Uncle Ning that you can cultivate the godly medicine. Tang San looked at Wang Feng, who had recovered a lot, and said slowly, I know. Wang Feng nodded. Wang Feng had already noticed the strange look Ning Fengji gave him earlier. Actually, it's nothing. It's not easy to hide the godly medicine. Wang Feng looked at Tang San and wanted to say something. He said calmly, the strength of the 7 of you has increased too obviously. You've risen 6 or 7 levels in a few days. Anyone will notice it. If they really want to investigate, it's impossible to hide it. This was true. Although it wasn't written in the original book, it was actually very easy to investigate. After all, 6 people rising 6 or 7 levels in a few days was too exaggerated. It's just that the problem of me cultivating the godly medicine is more troublesome. However, that Uncle Ning won't talk nonsense. Wang Feng suddenly smiled. He's Rongrong's father. No matter how you look at it, he's not a bad person. Also, I don't think he'll spread this matter casually. Then what if he blackmails you? or coerces you to cultivate the godly medicine for them. Tang San frowned. Brother Feng, don't forget that Uncle Ning has two titled Douluo behind him. Whether it was Tai Tan or Ning Fengji, they both asked about Brother Feng's background. However, Brother Feng's background was too simple. They could find out everything with just a simple investigation. Tang San knew that Ning Fengji was willing to make that kind of deal with him and didn't coerce him to join the Seven Treasure Glazed Tile sect because of his father. But Brother Feng, Wang Feng laughed a few times and was about to speak. At this moment, a clear voice sounded from outside the door. They dare. Outside the door, a pretty figure walked lightly into the room. If Dad and Grandpa Gu dare to threaten Wang Feng, I, Ning Rongrong, will disown them. The person who came was Ning Rongrong. Tang San touched his nose and was speechless for a moment. Ning Rongrong's face still seemed a bit angry. After she finished speaking, she suddenly looked at Wang Feng and nervously asked, Wang Feng, do you blame me for telling my father about you? Of course, Wang Feng said without any trace of politeness. I really want to beat you up. Ning Rongrong pouted and whispered, Don't hit me. What do you want? How about you make 3 requests and I'll compensate you? As she spoke, Ning Rongrong walked over to Wang Feng's side. She was like a kitten that wanted to steal a fish, but was afraid that her owner would find out. She tugged at the corner of Wang Feng's clothes. Tang San, who was at the side, hurriedly squinted his eyes and pretended that he did not see or hear anything. Wang Feng glared at her and shook his head. No need, how can I blame you? Moreover, if your father really did something like that, he wouldn't be called Ning Fengji. Hearing this, Tang San and Ning Rongrong were both stunned. You know my father? Ning Rongrong said in surprise. You haven't seen him, have you? No. Wang Feng smiled and said, Who doesn't know the name of the Seven Treasure Glazed Tile sect Master Ning? He is elegant and refined. In just a little more than 10 years, he can carry forward the Seven Treasure Glazed Tile sect. He really has the wisdom to govern the country and the world. How can he do such a treacherous, cunning, and shameless thing? After he finished speaking, Tang San and Ning Rongrong were shocked. Is my father so powerful? Ning Rongrong could not help but tilt her head and think for a while, and then asked in surprise. Tang San could not help but think, yes, is Uncle Ning so powerful? Maybe he is a great talent, but it's not so exaggerated, is it? Ahem. At this moment there was a cough outside the door. It was Ning Fengji and the Bon Douluo standing outside the door. Seeing this, Tang San's heart trembled. These two actually came to the door, and I didn't even notice. Brother Feng is really cunning. He must have noticed it, so he said this, right? Uncle Ning was probably embarrassed by what he said. Ning Rongrong glared at Ning Fengji as if to say, If you dare to threaten Wang Feng, don't call me your daughter. She was not stupid. She knew that if she told her father Wang Feng's secret, her father would definitely look for Wang Feng and pay special attention to Wang Feng. This was what Ning Rongrong wanted to see. But if her father threatened Wang Feng, Ning Rongrong would be the first to disagree. A married daughter is like spilled water. You're not married yet? You're siding with an outsider. Ning Fengji glanced at his precious daughter and couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Uncle Ning. Tang San looked at Ning Fengji. At this moment, Wang Feng also looked at Ning Fengji and pretended to be surprised. So you're Rongrong's father? You're actually so young. When I was outside the school gate just now, I thought you were Rongrong's elder brother. I didn't expect you to be Rongrong's father. Ning Fengji. The Bon Douluo smiled secretly and thought to himself, This kid is indeed as cunning as Old Sword said. He's really as slippery as a fox. I can't even find a loophole. Old Sword was clearly the one who suffered last time, but he couldn't even say a harsh word to him. This kid is even more difficult to deal with than Tang San. He's so young, but he's almost a demon. The Bon Douluo thought to himself. They were here to find trouble with this kid and teach him a lesson so that he wouldn't bully Rongrong in the future. But now, Ning Fengji really didn't know what to say. He and the Bone Douluo secretly followed behind Ning Rongrong. They knew that their daughter would definitely go to see Wang Feng. Ning Fengji also sensed that his daughter wanted to let him know how powerful the boy she liked was. She wanted him to pay attention to that boy. That was why she told him about Wang Feng's cultivation of the divine medicine. Otherwise, this kind of thing should have been a secret agreement between the few of them. Ning Fengji thought that if this kid knew that Ning Rongrong told him the secret of his cultivation of the divine medicine, he would definitely blame him for bullying Rongrong. Therefore, Ning Fengji and the Bone Douluo secretly followed behind Ning Rongrong. They planned to wait for Wang Feng to blame him for bullying Rongrong so that they could get the Bone Douluo to teach this kid a lesson. After all, it was only right for a father to stand up for his daughter, right? Otherwise, as the sect leader of the Seven Treasure Glazed Tile sect, he couldn't just let a titled Douluo teach someone a lesson, right? And this was in someone else's academy. Ning Fengji still wanted to save face. He heard this kid say to Rongrong, "I really want to beat you up." Ning Fengji was secretly delighted. Just as he was about to push the door open and enter, who knew? This kid didn't play by the rules at all? After that, he bragged so much that Ning Fengji felt a little smug. Why do I feel that he's more cunning than those old foxes in the Empire? Ning Fengji was a little shocked. Since you're Rongrong's father, I'll be bold enough to call you Uncle Ning. I believe Uncle Ning is here to check on my injuries, right? At this moment, Wang Feng lamented, "Uncle Ning, you're so nice. Don't worry, my injuries are fine. It's just that I can't fight for the next 2 days. Thank you for your concern, Uncle Ning." Hearing this, Ning Fengji came back to his senses. After thinking for a long time, he could only go along with Wang Feng's words. "It's good that you're fine. You've taken good care of Rongrong in the academy. I've also heard Rongrong mention you often. Since that's the case, you should recuperate well. We'll visit you again when we're free." After speaking, Ning Fengji and the Bone Douluo looked at each other and walked out. Chapter 243. After the two of them left. "Brother Feng is amazing." Tang San smiled. Uncle Ning came aggressively. "If you really reprimanded Rongrong just now, I'm afraid he would immediately ask that senior Bone Douluo to teach you a lesson. If you used your injuries as an excuse, he could treat you and make you speechless." Ning Rongrong was at a loss at first, then she realized. "I didn't expect you to send him away with just a few words," Tang San said in admiration. Wang Feng smiled and said, "Actually, I'm looking forward to that senior Bone Douluo making a move. After all, not every soul master can exchange blows with a titled Doulu. It's just that I'm not in a good state now." He was now rank 40. Even if the Bone Douluo made a move and let Wang Feng activate the meteoric tier, he wouldn't be able to increase his rank. He would be beaten up for nothing. Wang Feng didn't want to suffer such a loss. "Let's talk about it when I reach rank 41. Wang Fengxin thought to himself. "Ha ha ha, Fengji, this is the first time I've seen you suffer a loss. Your actions just now have been controlled by this brat the entire time. This kid is also very sharp. How did he detect us? Even Tang San couldn't detect us." Ning Fengji and the Bone Douluo walked out of the square. The Bone Douluo laughed loudly. "No wonder that old Jian can't forget this kid. The last time he came to see Rongrong, he said that he had some regrets. This kid is very interesting. Logically speaking, I like being able to make old Jian suffer a loss. I didn't expect that he could also make you suffer a loss." Ning Fengji recalled everything that happened just now and was so shocked that he broke out in a cold sweat. Until he walked out. No wonder this brat was able to train Rongrong until he was obedient, Ning Fengji said in a low voice. It was the first time the two of them had an official confrontation. He, Ning Fengji, was defeated. With Rongrong's personality, To be able to make her like this. Thinking about it, I feel that he's not simple. It's just that this kid is too smart. Rongrong is not his opponent at all. The Bon Douluo smiled and said, even if Rongrong likes this kid, she can't control herself. Ning Fengji nodded slightly. He could see that this kid called Wang Feng was very difficult to deal with. Even he was already like this, not to mention Ning Rongrong. However, they are still young. Ning Fengji smiled. When it comes to matters of the heart, it's useless no matter how good you are. This kid is indeed not ordinary. In the future, even if he doesn't join our Seven Treasures Glazed sect, with Rongrong's relationship with him, it's enough. Of you, if you say that you don't have any feelings for Rongrong. The Bon Douluo was slightly taken aback. Most of the time, the people involved are not aware of their feelings. Ning Fengji smiled. Just like you and Uncle Jian. Although you are always fighting, when it comes to critical moments, the two of you will have better chemistry than anyone else. But who can tell? Those who don't know will think that the two of you are enemies? Hearing this, the Bon Douluo fell silent. Ning Fengji's words hit the nail on the head. They were very reasonable. That's why. Ning Fengji looked back at the room and saw Ning Rongrong walking out of the room with a smile. He couldn't help but sigh. He couldn't help but sigh. Such feelings will only be shown at critical moments. This kid is so smart. His talent is 1 in a million, and he treats Rongrong so well. Only the three of us know about the divine medicine. I can't bear to tell anyone about it. In the future, whether the Seven Treasure Glazed Tile sect can continue to be passed down, perhaps we will have to depend on him. His last sentence sounded like a mumble. The Bon Douluo was shocked. Fengji, what do you mean? A storm is coming. Ning Fengji shook his head and didn't say much. He only walked out of the school gate with the Bon Douluo. But Uncle Bon, we still have to find a chance to beat this kid up, otherwise Rongrong will be bullied by him. Let's find another chance next time. The Bon Douluo was speechless. Ning Rongrong was very happy. Wang Feng didn't blame her, and her father didn't find trouble with Wang Feng. This was great. Wang Feng didn't blame her. He had interacted with Ning Fengji before, and knew what kind of person Ning Fengji was. If he was really that kind of person, Wang Feng would have left the academy a long time ago. Furthermore, if Ning Fengji was smart, he would help him keep this secret. Wang Fengxin thought to himself. After reaching rank 40, Wang Feng wanted to hunt soul beasts by himself because Lu Erlong and Dai Mubai hadn't returned yet. Furthermore, he wanted to go to the Great Star Do Forest, and not the Setting Sun Forest near Heaven Do City. The Great Star Do Forest was quite a distance from Heaven Do Imperial City. Therefore, Wang Feng decided to go to the Great Star Do Forest alone. Little Feng, do you really want to go alone? The day before Wang Feng left, the Grandmaster looked at the youth in front of him and asked, "Why don't you wait a little longer? Wait for Flender and Erlong to return before you hunt soul beasts? Furthermore, why do you want to go to the Great Star Do Forest? That place is quite far from Heaven Do Imperial City." "Because I'm more familiar with that place." Wang Feng thought for a moment before replying, "I'm also familiar with many soul beasts there." He wanted to go to the Great Star Do Forest. Otherwise, Wang Feng wouldn't have gone so far. The Setting Sun Forest wasn't inferior to the Great Star Do Forest. Then you have to be careful. The Grandmaster thought for a moment before saying, "Oh yes, I've found an academy for you regarding the matter you mentioned to me. You can participate in the Continental Advanced Soul Master Tournament as one of the 9-to-1. However, you can't reveal your identity so easily. I'll tell you more when you return." Wang Feng nodded. There was still half a year before the tournament. The rest of them still had some time before they reached level 40. Wang Feng roughly knew that the 7 of them would follow Lu Erlong, Flender, and the others to the Setting Sun Forest to hunt soul beasts. However, He didn't want to waste so much time. Naturally, he wanted to obtain a soul ring as soon as possible and become a soul ancestor. After bidding farewell to the Grandmaster, Wang Feng also mentioned his departure to Tang San and the others before he left Heaven Do City for the Great Star Do Forest. It was after Wang Feng had left Heaven Do City, inside a luxurious room. That kid left Heaven Do City? Why isn't he cultivating in the academy? Why is he leaving the city? The masked man furrowed his brow. Judging from the direction, he's heading towards the Great Star Do Forest. Great Star Do Forest? Interesting. If he's breaking through, why isn't he going to the Setting Sun Forest to hunt soul beasts? The masked man was amused. That's good. Go and make arrangements. We'll go to the Great Star Do Forest to take a look. Yes, Your Highness. A few days later, Wang Feng returned to the Great Star Do Forest. I miss it a little. Wang Fengxin's heart skipped a beat. I wonder if I'll have a chance to meet Erming? I really want to spar with him. Chapter 244. Right now, the Great Star Do Forest was still verdant and lush, and it made one feel carefree and relaxed. One would feel a little more refreshed after taking a deep breath. After arriving at the Great Star Do Forest, Wang Feng was still in disguise. Yes, it's time to try the fourth form of the Green Lotus. Wang Feng thought to himself. After finding a quiet place, Wang Feng sat cross-legged. 3 soul rings rose from his body. The chaotic green lotus bloomed in his palm. Wang Feng's soul power gushed into the green lotus from his body. There are 4 lotus seeds in the lotus pod. 3 of them have already bloomed. The 4th one is the most mature and the biggest. I wonder if it will bloom? Wang Feng stared at the green lotus. As soul power surged in, the green lotus started to emit green light. Every leaf, petal, lotus pod, lotus seed, and stem started to glow. However, the 4th lotus seed didn't bloom like Wang Feng had expected. It seemed like his soul power wasn't enough to make the biggest lotus seed bloom. Instead, all his soul power surged into the stem. Gradually, the stem started to change. Finally, it left the green lotus and started to glow intensely in midair. Stem, could this be? Wang Feng was stunned as he looked at the stem. As soul power surged in, the stem slowly turned black. Finally, it turned into an ancient spear. There was a cold light at the tip of the spear. The blade of the spear seemed blunt. There were even a few ancient inscriptions on the body of the spear. However, they were all very dark. The moment the spear appeared, Wang Feng felt an overwhelming demonic aura. It was as if he had fallen into a boundless demonic hell. There were demonic howls all around him. The murderous aura was like the Milky Way. It was very difficult to resist. God-slaying spear? Wang Feng took in a deep breath. He did not expect that the 4th form of the Green Lotus would actually be this god-slaying spear with a monstrous demonic aura. Just from the name alone, Wang Feng could tell that this item could even kill saints in myths and legends. It was a true demonic weapon. Wang Feng hesitated for a moment as he looked at the spear. However, he still grabbed it. The spear was about the same height as him. The body of the spear and the blade of the spear looked very simple. It was as if it hadn't been forged properly. But the moment Wang Feng grasped it, the depths of his soul began to tremble. The scenery around him suddenly vanished. Wang Feng suddenly blinked his eyes. However, he wasn't in the Great Star Do Forest. Instead, he was in the demonic prison where the sky was blood-red. It was as if he was in midair. Down below, there were many strange humanoid creatures of different sizes. They were all extremely large, even larger than Erming. They all looked ferocious and had all sorts of strange appearances. Some had 2 heads and 4 arms, some had eyes all over their faces, and some had mouths on their stomachs. However, the aura of each of them was incomparably powerful. This aura was far more powerful than any titled Douluo, that Wang Feng had ever seen. Don't tell me they are all primordial fiend gods? Wang Fengxian thought to himself. Legend had it that the god-slaying spear was obtained by fiend ancestor Rao. The word ancestor was enough to explain everything. The ancestor of all devils. Roar, roar, roar. The terrifying demonic gods let out deafening roars as if they were charging at Wang Feng. Their roars contained an extremely powerful spiritual impact. Almost instantly, Wang Feng's mind was shaken, and the scenery around him quickly shattered. It's all an illusion. Wang Feng's face was a little pale. He looked around, and he was still in the great Star Do forest. This must be caused by the remnant aura of the god-slaying spear. However, the god-slaying spear has just taken form. It shouldn't have anything to do with fiend ancestor Rao. Wang Feng held the spear. He felt as if his mind was being attacked with every passing moment. The ferocious and bloodthirsty demonic aura almost filled Wang Feng's soul. Wang Feng's soul and mind had been burned by the karmic fire of the Red Lotus, so they were extremely pure. They weren't completely engulfed by the terrifying demonic aura. Damn, luckily, I used the karmic fire of the Red Lotus to temper my body. My soul and mind have been tempered. Only then can I barely withstand the ferocious demonic aura of the god-slaying spear. Wang Feng's face was pale as he looked at the god-slaying spear. Otherwise, I would have been King dead. Wang Feng didn't know that the god-slaying spear's fourth form was actually the god-slaying spear. However, it seemed like it hadn't been consecrated. Its strength hadn't been maximized. Right now, he was holding the ice-cold god-slaying spear. Besides the impact on his soul and mind, his body also felt extremely cold. He was really lucky. Wang Feng didn't know, but if one were to look at him from afar, they would find that at this moment, his body was surrounded by a faint black mist, causing him to appear incomparably dark and gloomy, causing others' hearts to palpitate. Especially his eyes, they were faintly red. Some of the more cowardly soul masters would have fainted at the sight of it. After a while, Wang Feng managed to get used to it. He was a little agitated. The god-slaying spear's offensive strength might be inferior to the Pangu axe. However, it's one of the best treasures out there. Wang Fengxian thought to himself. Wang Feng didn't dare to use the Pangu axe as his trump card. Now that he had the god-slaying spear, he could make up for his lack of offensive methods. He didn't have to use his physical body to fight head-on. It felt great to punch and kick, but Wang Feng couldn't take it every time. Next, I need to test the strength of this god-slaying spear. Even if I don't use it, it's consuming my soul power every second. Wang Feng frowned. He could clearly sense that the soul power in his body was rapidly depleting. Furthermore, the demonic aura on the god-slaying spear was too dense. If a normal soul master touched it, he would probably go insane and die. Otherwise, he would be devoured by the god-slaying spear. Fortunately, Wang Feng's physical body and soul could withstand it. It could be said that on this continent, except for Wang Feng, no one else could use the god-slaying spear martial soul. Wait, suddenly Wang Feng knew something was wrong. He felt that the mysterious human-shaped martial soul in his high seemed to be attracted by the demonic aura of the god-slaying spear. Oh no, is this martial soul going to awaken? Wang Feng's pupils shrank. That mysterious human-shaped martial soul had always been in a half-awakened state. It was just missing something. He didn't expect that the fourth form of the god-slaying spear would draw out the human-shaped martial soul. However, after thinking about it, it seemed to be true. That mysterious human-shaped martial soul needed to absorb all kinds of violent killing intent to form. The demonic aura of the god-slaying spear was probably the best nourishment for it. In the next moment, Wang Feng's black robe suddenly fluttered. Fortunately, he didn't use the Pangu axe this time. Otherwise, his black robe would have exploded. The 7 lines slowly converged on Wang Feng's limbs. It felt like water flowing through his body, giving Wang Feng an abnormally cold sensation. End of chapter. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.